We'll allow a few moments for our participants to join in for today's event.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mathur. Chandrabhushan here. Namaskar.
How are you?
All well. Hope well with you as well.
Yes. And just remove that T from Mathur.
Okay, Mahur, sorry. Ji.
So this is general confusion. First time.
Yeah, because we have visual habit of quickly scanning. Yeah.
Yes. Definitely. That's why I generally tell people just Mathur minus T to remember.
That is a good one. So, Shrestha, we are going to start now.
Yes.
And ma'am, I'll have to leave by 3:45.
Ji, Mahur ji, we'll be sharp on time. Yeah. I'm just allowing 2 more minutes because Arava Rajkamal ji just informed he's joining in like by 3:04, 3:05 maximum. So just 2 more minutes for people to join in, and we'll start the webinar on the presentations.
So I started, engaging with Ministry of Mines when Shalta Shilanayar ji was secretary.
Okay, so maybe long back.
Long back, and that was a time when discussion on DMF had started. She was the person who actually spearheaded this entire.
It was before 2015.
Ji, much before. It was 2011, 12. Then Shri Vijay Kumar came.
Okay.
And in his tenure, the structure was given. So
wonderful initiative.
Yes, of course. And I think we need to make it work.
Yes.
Problems
yes, it is working, but need more stress, more transparency and accountability on the part of, because money is high.
Huge, and we have done some interesting projection कि अगले 10 साल में क्या होंगे, which we will show it to you.
Yes. Because it is already, like if we talk about Keonjhar, the #1 district, it is more than 10% of overall collections.
21 district is getting about 2/3 of all the money.
Yes.
So the huge amount of money to be, and it can change the lives. Shrestha, I request that you start and then. You are on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very welcome on behalf of International Forum for Environment, Sustainability and Technology, iFOREST. We are very happy that we are convening this meeting today, and we are doing it in form of a webinar. The entire purpose is that the topic that we'll discuss today is the issue of states and districts. And therefore, instead of doing a physical meeting, we wanted as many people to participate today, join the discussions, understand these institutions, which was formed 10 years back. And in fact, in 2 days, it will be the 10 years of District Mineral Foundation Fund when it was instituted by the Government of India under a central mining law. We have a very vibrant panelists today joining us from the central government as well as state governments, and also from organizations who have been working in various mining districts for years, also being engaged with DMFT implementation. In the opening session, we'll start with a presentation of the iFOREST report that we are releasing today, where we are assessing the 10 years of how DMFs have been implemented, what have been some of the good things that have come out of this huge opportunity that is in hand, what are some of the challenges that the districts have been facing, and finally, what can we do ahead to make this institution a strong and deliver to the objective with which it was instituted 10 years back. Following the presentation, we'll have our inaugural addresses from the Ministry of Mines as well as from the government of Jharkhand. After the inaugural session, we'll have a session which will specifically focus on DMF body representatives from various districts of the country, and particularly we have 4 districts today with us. And I'll come to that. My colleague will introduce that session. And finally, we will move on to a session called Voices from the Ground, which is a civil society session where we have civil society organizations who are working in the various mining states and districts, have been closely working with the people in these areas to share how DMFs are benefiting the people and what further can be done to deliver the services better for the people who need it the most. In every session, I will request mobiles to remain on silent so we can proceed with the session seamlessly. There is a chat box for everyone to type in the question and answers, and me and my colleagues and the session moderators will be collecting those questions. And after the panel discussions, we will try to respond to as many questions as possible. That's the entire purpose. And in case any questions are missed out, please write to us. We'll be most happy to respond. Finally, I would like to say that the report is already being put up in iFOREST website for all of you to review, respond, and to connect with us. With that, I'll stop, and I hope it is an engaging discussion. The entire purpose was to listen from all of you, to engage with all of you. With that, I'm giving the floor to Shri Chandrabhushan ji, who is the President and CEO of iFOREST. Just before I introduce Chandrabhushan ji, I just want to say one word that it is a very, very, I would say, emotional day for him. I have seen him 15 to 20 years working on this field, advocating for District Mineral Foundation to be instituted. And 10 years back, he fought for it in the floor of India's parliament. So today is a big day for us as an institution, and I leave the floor to you, CV.
Thank you, Shrestha, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome Shri Mahur, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Mines. Mr. Rajkamal, who is, will also join, his Secretary Mines in Government of Jharkhand. Before this meeting, I was remembering 2 very important secretaries of Government of India who actually played a very important role in setting up DMF. One was Srimati Shantashila Nair, a feisty IS officer from Tamil Nadu, a very strong secretary, and then Shri Vijay Kumar. These are the 2 people who spearheaded the setting up of District Mineral Foundation. And it has been, the discussion on DMF had started actually in 2009. And it took 6 years it started in UPA government, but there was a broad consensus in the parliament. And in 2015, the new NDA government under Shri Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, this law was passed on 27th of March, 2015, exactly 2 days from today. And as Shrestha said, it's an important period for us to assess how DMF has functioned, whether it has met its mandate or not. Do we need to strengthen the institution, and how we can strengthen the institution? And we have worked very closely with state governments on strengthening DMF and other things. I have a small presentation, which I will give to explain to you what our assessment is all about DMF. Let me start the presentation first. Yes. I think it is important for many people who are joining this meeting to understand why DMF is such a historic milestone. District Mineral Foundation is actually a very right-based approach. Many people do not know, but it is one of the most important right-based legislation, which was instituted in 2015. And the right was also very revolutionary. In the history of independent India, this is the first law which says that people have right to benefit from natural resource. State governments have right to collect royalty and taxes. Central government get taxes. Companies make profit or loss from their business. But in no law in India, in our legislative framework, people have been given right to benefit from natural resource. And this is the only law District Mineral Foundation, which actually recognizes the right of people under whose land mineral is there to benefit from that mineral. Okay. And therefore, the objective of DMF is very clear. And there are two important words in that: to work for the interest and benefit of persons and areas. The rest of the word is fine, but the two important thing about DMF, which I have found that many people forget, that it is in the interest of persons who are affected by mining and areas which are affected by mining. So these are the two terms which are important, and I will come back to the real meaning of these two terms in my presentation. Post this, there was Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana, which came as a guideline on the way DMF money should be spent. So this is the background of District Mineral Foundation. But it is a transformative law. After DMF, there has not been any law, or before DMF, there was no law which recognized that people have right to benefit from natural resource. And that is the reason that it has been notified as a trust. And a trust should have trustees. Person, the word, remember I said in the first slide, it is for persons and areas affected by mining who have to benefit from this trust. Therefore, it was set up as a trust. And this trust has to be operated as a participatory governance, and therefore 3 laws have been mentioned in the DMF rules. Number 1, that the functioning of DMF will be done through the processes of 5th and 6th schedule of the Constitution. As you know, this 5th and 6th schedule of the Constitution governing tribal areas, which is a very participatory form of governance, Panchayati Raj extension of schedule area, PESA Act 1996, and Forest Rights Act. So the DMF will have to be implemented keeping in view the spirit and the letter of these 3 laws. And therefore, there has been clear, responsibilities given to the Gram Sabhas, which unfortunately, many of the DMFs are not actually implementing. Gram Sabhas have been given the right to identify the beneficiaries. The job of identification of beneficiary in the mining affected area has been given to Gram Sabhas. Second is, Gram Sabha has been given the responsibility in developing plans and program of their areas and then submitting it to the DMF. And third, Gram Sabhas have also been given the right of social audit to actually see the implementation of schemes and projects that will happen through DMF funds. So Gram Sabhas have a very important role under the rules, DMF rules, in implementation of DMF investments. Obviously, it is a very, very important opportunity to alleviate poverty and do better development through planning in mining areas. PMKKY, Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana, has very clearly said that you will have to define beneficiary, identify beneficiary, and also target funds. So there is a high priority sector identified under DMF, under PMKKY, where at least 70% of money has to go. And these are largely to improve human development indicators. So if you read PMKKY, there the focus is how do you improve human resources, human development, infrastructure, health, education in the mining affected areas. The other important thing is that these are big money. I mean to say, some of the districts are getting 1,000 crore rupees a year. That is the kind of money that is going to the districts through District Mineral Foundation. But this money is a non-lapsable, untied money. No one is forcing DMFs to spend money in the year they are getting the money. Again, this was a very conscious decision when DMFs was being set up, that there was no clause. In fact, there was a discussion at the Parliamentary Standing Committee, in which I had participated, that should this be a tied fund? Should it be a lapsable fund? But in its own wisdom, the Parliament decided that this should be a non-lapsable, untied fund. so that there is ample scope to plan and make right investment. That was the reason of making DMF non-lapsable and untied fund. And obviously, as I said, the mandate is to implement DMF in a very participatory and need-based fashion. So this is the background in which this, I believe, one of the most revolutionary and, a 21st century institution was set up in 2015. So let's come to the assessment. What have we found? How much money DMF has collected? There can be plus minus 5%, 10%, but overall, 1 lakh crore rupees has been collected under DMF in last 10 years. 1 lakh crore. I say that it is $1 billion per year collection. About 8,000 to 10,000 rupees are collected in district mineral foundations every year. Major money comes from major minerals. Iron ore, obviously, is one of the biggest mineral which provides a DMF fund. About 51% comes from major mineral, about 37% from coal and lignite, and 11% of DMF contribution comes from minor mineral. So of 1 lakh crore, 50,000 crore rupees basically is from major mineral, which are called as MCDR minerals. We have done a very detailed projection, considering the way the minerals are likely to grow, the projection on coal production, iron and ore production, and other minerals, as well as the potential of some of the critical minerals coming into the country. And we think that in next 10 years, from 1 lakh crore, actually in next 10 years, the collection in DMF could be as high as 3 lakh crore rupees. Anywhere between 2,50,000 to 3 lakh crore rupees. We are talking about big money. From $1 billion, you could think about anywhere between $2.5 to $3 billion every year being collected in DMF. So this is the amount of money which can change the lives of people, which can convert some of the most deprived areas and underdeveloped areas of the country into a developed area. So there's a huge money and huge potential for transformative changes. Now, what we have done is to actually do a very detailed assessment and objective assessment of DMF in all states. There are 645 district mineral foundations in 23 states. But frankly, there are only about 20-25 districts which are important. So we have taken we have done assessment of all 23 states. And then we have done assessment of 21 mining districts which have at least 1,000 crore, which have collected at least 1,000 crore in last 10 years. And these 21 districts actually have collected 65% of all the DMF. So the real potential of DMF is in these 25, 30 districts. And we have done the assessment of 21 districts. We have done assessment looking at institutional design and administrative functioning. We have looked at fund collection, accrual, allocation, and utilization. And we have looked at transparency and accountability. And as you can see on the right side of the slide, there are multiple indicators, more than 25 indicators that we have considered to assess the performance of DMF, including DMF bodies, whether the meetings have been conducted or not, whether they are publishing annual report, annual financial report, what is the quality of investment that is being done, are they following the guidelines of PM-KKY or not. Almost all important parameters have been considered in this assessment. Now, our first assessment is that there was a very good revision of PM-KKY, which was done in 2024, in the way DMF should be implemented. But only 5 states out of 23 have actually revised their rules in line with PM-KKY 2024 guidelines. And these are Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh. These are the only states who have revised their rules as per PM-KKY. So there's a gap between what central government wants and how states are trying to modify their rules on DMF. The most problematic part is that none of the DMFs have identified beneficiaries. Now, beneficiary identification has not happened even after 10 years. There are obvious challenges, but I think, one of the work we did with DMF in Jharkhand and Orissa was actually to develop a guideline on beneficiary identification. And that report should be available. And we had developed a very, very detailed guideline on how you should do beneficiary identification. It is challenging, but it is doable. And you need to have a cutoff year. Beyond that, you will not identify, because there can be displaced person 30, 40 years back who might have been displaced by mining, but they might not be there. So it's difficult to identify. But there are ways to identify beneficiary. Unfortunately, DMF has not done that. The other problem is the DMF bodies have very poor participation of mining affected community. So that the very idea of DMF being a participatory institution is not getting reflected in the constitution of DMF itself, in the governing council and managing committee. But the fact is, every district that we went, we found that DMF is actually being run as part of district collector's office. It is an extension of district collector office. In fact, in most DMF, district collector is actually both the chairperson of governing council and managing committee, which is weakening the accountability structure. You can have a governing committee, and a governing council and a managing committee should have separate heads to bring accountability. But we are finding that district collectors are head of both governing council and managing committee. So from being a people-centric organization, it has become almost a part of another government department. This is what DMF has become. That is not what the law intends. That is not what the DMF rule says or the guideline is. So this is what the current status. So institutionally, in 10 years, DMF has weakened. It has not become stronger. Planning is again a major problem. There are no proper annual plans that are done. If you read the annual plans, they are largely listing of project that we are going to do this project or that project. There is no concerted effort or a bottom-up effort to do the planning. The other problem is that no district has done a 5-year plan, which actually in 2024, the PMKK guideline, in 2022 actually, 2022 guideline of the Ministry of Mines had requested all DMFs, has directed all DMFs to develop 5-year perspective plan, but none of the district have done 5-year perspective plan. So planning is weak. The institution is weak. And therefore, there are significant challenges in institutional design and functioning of DMF. How the money has been used? Just 3 districts and 21 states, what matters. These 3 states, 21 districts and 3 states, I'm sorry. So 3 states, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh have more than 55% of DMF collection. Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand. And as I said, 21 districts, most of them are in these states, have about 65% of all the money. Okay. Now, if you map these districts, look at their scheduled tribes population, look at their poverty, multidimensional poverty, classify them as aspirational district or non-aspirational district, you find that they overlap. The districts with the largest DMF collection are dominated by tribal population, are multidimensionally poor. They are worse than India's average. And many of them are also classified as aspirational district by Niti Aayog. So you can understand the requirement of right investment in these districts. These are underdeveloped districts. And these underdeveloped districts have this resource, which must be utilized, with utmost care. That is what this is. So this tells you district like Kendujhar, Sundargarh, Singrauli, Korba, Dantewar, West Singhbhum, Chatra, Sonbhadra, Ramgarh, these all are big DMF districts. they're getting, they have 1,000 crore rupees collection over the last 10 years. And these are also the poorest districts of it, one of the poorest districts of India. Allocation of the 1 lakh crore rupees that DMFs have collected across the country, allocation is 85%. So it seems that, the untied non-lapsable component of the fund, which was, was discussed in Parliamentary Standing Committee, has not been understood very well. And therefore, as soon as the money comes, they are being allocated. Some of the states have allocated more than what they have collected. States like Chhattisgarh and Telangana. They have allocated more than 100%. But in most state, allocation is, all India average allocation is more than 75%. This is the average allocation all India. And most big DMF states have done more than 75% allocation. So the fund allocation is happening quite rapidly. That's not the case with fund utilization. The spending is only about 40% of accrual. So of 1 lakh crore rupees which has been collected, only about 40,000, 50,000 crore rupees. So there can be some discrepancy in data, because data is, some states have given data for only till 22, some have given till 2024. But overall, the spending is less than 50% of the collection. Gujarat and Chhattisgarh have higher spending compared to other states. But states like Jharkhand have very, Jharkhand has only about 25% of utilization. Now, high allocation and low utilization is a signal that there are possible institutional problems. You're allocating a lot of money, you're clearing projects, but those projects are taking a lot of time, in implementation. Basically, that indicates administrative hurdles, project execution bottlenecks. This is what it indicates. But the most important thing is not how much you have allocated and how much you have utilized. The fact is, what is the quality of investment? Where are you making those investments? And frankly, the DMF investment is construction driven. Infrastructure, for example, road, bridges, take about 1/3 of the investment. In terms of allocation, we could not get data on utilization, but in terms of allocation, 1/3 is for infrastructure, which is roads, bridges, those kind of projects. Then there is education and drinking water. But again, in education, it is about building classrooms. In drinking water, it is about large, water supply projects. Like in Jharkhand, majority of DMF money has gone into large infrastructure, drinking water infrastructure projects, capital intensive infrastructure. So overall, what we are finding is that DMFs know how to tender out, bid out, and execute infrastructure, hardware. But they have difficulty in investing in software. In terms of social development, livelihood, energy access, they find it very difficult. In fact, we had interaction in some of the district where actually the district magistrate said that we do not know how to tender out knowledge. How do we tender out an assessment report? We do not know. Can you help us do it? So DMFs are basically hardware. DMF investment is becoming a hardware investment. Whereas the objective is a mix of hardware and software investment is not happening. This is the status of investment. Transparency and accountability, I must say that transparency has improved over the years. In the early years of DMF, there was a problem. They didn't have website, annual report was not being done, but those things are gone. You can easily access information. We have seen annual report till 21-22. The latest one has not been updated, but we know that they are being prepared and they are available at the district level. So, annual report, financial report, websites. In fact, of the 21 districts that we assessed, the top DMF district, 19 had websites. One of the areas which is weak on accountability is actually complaint and grievance redressal system, which is an important part of DMF that needs strengthening. Overall, there has been improvement in transparency. Of course, things can be further improved, but on transparency aspect, there has been an improvement. So what is our recommendation overall? After having studied DMF and benefit sharing mechanism for last 1.5 decades, we think that there is now time to go back to the original intent of DMF and redesign it as an independent public welfare fund. At the end of the day, DMFs are very similar to sovereign fund, where from natural resource rent, money is collected for present and future generation. This is what DMF is. And we think that we have to think about DMF as an independent public welfare fund working in partnership with government development goal. So it is not a government department, which is very important to understand. Okay. It has to work in tandem and in partnership with government department. But right now, this is not what is happening. It has become more or less an arm of government department. So we think the time has come to think about DMF, go back to the original thinking of it being an independent public welfare fund, which means that it needs to have an independent office and an independent CEO. Okay. So we recommend that any DMF with more than 50 crore annual accrual, which is a reasonably good amount of money, should have an independent office and an independent CEO. For DMF with less money, we can think about a hybrid system. But for those which are collecting 50 crore rupees, and there will be large number of districts, because as we said, in future, from 1 lakh crore in last 10 years, they are going to collect 3 lakh crore in next 10 years. So there's going to be a huge amount of money. So we think it is time to have an independent office and an independent CEO. We think there's need for proper representation of Gram Sabha and affected community. Again, the intent of the law. So we think at least 1/3 of the members should be from affected community, the beneficiaries. They have to identify beneficiaries. So that is one. And then there should be a separate chairperson for governing council and managing committee. A district collector can be chairperson of managing committee, but someone else has to be the chairperson of governing council. Maybe if you want a member of parliament, elected person, the respected person in the community can be the governing council chairperson. So a clear division between governing council and managing committee is required. They will have to identify mining affected people. A decade is a long time, and we think that it should be very quickly done. And then it should be done with plan. I'm again repeating, it is an untied, non-lapsable fund. And the intent was that you will make this investment with proper planning. So, an annual plan and 5-year perspective plan, certainly, which is in the guideline of Ministry of Mine, should be implemented. We think also that, DMF investment needs to move more towards software now, in education, digital literacy program, in skilling, in newer areas like green energy, in developing entrepreneurship, small business development. These are the areas where jobs will be created. And mind you, mining areas, we do a lot of study in mining districts. Mining districts also have huge unemployment. The youth unemployment in Angul and Chatra and Ramgarh and Kyonjhar is huge. The unemployment in mining districts are far more than all India average. So we now have to think about how do we generate employment in these areas. So entrepreneurship and business development, livelihood, skilling, education should be the core of DMF. We also think in some of the states where accrual is very high, there's need for an independent DMF investment board. Okay. These are international best practices, which has been, we have studied. When you are talking about 10,000 and 20,000 crore rupees, then you have to have an investment board to look at it. This is $1 billion investments. So I think there's a need for independent DMF investment board. There are other recommendation in the report, including how do we do endowment fund. DMF is also for the future. Many districts, the mines are closing down. In fact, some of the district, there is a reduction in production of coal in the old coal belt of Jharkhand. What do we do with endowment fund? We should not be spending all the money in the present. That money should also be used for the future. So, we are recommending a very clear spending rule. Transition is going to happen in some of the coal district, and DMF investment should align with just transition. And lastly, in 10 years, I think the time has come to see what has been the impact of DMF. Has it made a difference? We have spent 50 crore, 1,000 crore rupees across India. There is need to understand, has it made a difference to the lives of people? I'm sure it has. I'm not at all doubting that some of the investments of DMF have changed the lives of people. But we need to, record it. We need to assess it. And therefore, both social audit and impact assessment should now be done. So these are the broad recommendations that we have. And I thank all of you again for joining this webinar.
Thank you, Chandrabhushanji. I'll now request our special guests to share the observations. First, I'll start with Shri Dinesh Mahurji, Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Mines. And Dinesh Mahurji is also right now part of the committee, which is looking into, once again, considering the revisions of the PMKKY guidelines to strengthen DMF implementation further. Sir, a very warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us today. And I request you to please deliver your address.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shrestha. Am I audible to all?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And very, very good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be here to interact with this August gathering and discuss the important issues of sustainable development, or to be very, very precise, development with dignity of the mining affected communities and areas. And Dr. Bhushan has given great insights of the overall, the developments happened during the period of 10 years. And some we were knowing and some were new to us. So I must say that any development project cannot be successful until the affected communities and their surroundings are taken care of properly. The development projects must take care of PPP bottom line, that is people, planet, and profit. This means should be socially and economically better off. People should be socially and economically better off. Environment should not be degraded from the activities, and project should generate profit for the proponent. These are the triple P bottom line for any project. Any of these bottom line is not taken care of, the development initiative will not be successful. And this was the precise, I must say, precise reason for setting up of DMF through Act Amendment in 2015. As already talked about Dr. Bhushan, mining communities often reside in resource-rich yet socially economically challenged regions. They are one of the most poorest regions and people. These areas have long required a people-first approach to natural resources governance. DMF is an initiative which has worked tirelessly to improve the people and planet bottom lines in the mining affected areas. Though there may be some implementation issues, yes, certainly such a big scheme, there are challenges in implementation of such schemes. On this significant occasion, we commemorate a decade of DMF implementation in India. This event stands as a testament to our collective commitment to fostering meaningful dialogue, collaborative action, and a shared vision for the inclusive development of mining affected communities. Since inception of DMFs have emerged a powerful mechanism to channel a share of mining revenues into impactful grassroots level projects. As of today, DMFs are operational in 645 districts across 23 mining states. Most importantly, as already also mentioned by Dr. Bhushan, these 645 districts include 106 of the 112 aspirational districts, the poorest districts identified the government. So I'll not talk about the figures and all, how many collection, how much collection, how much distribution, because that has been talked about by Dr. Bhushan. To further streamline the DMF fund utilization, the Mines and Mineral Development Amendment Act 21 empowered the central government to issue directions to states regarding fund composition and utilization. So three important things which were touched about by Dr. Bhushan also, that was inclusion of public representatives, honorable MPs, MLAs, MLCs in DMF Governing Council to enhance transparency and public participation, ensuring that DMF funds remain dedicated to the district level projects and not diverted to state level funds. That there were some sort of instances that some funds were being diverted from the district to the state treasury. So, then mandating the preparation of 5-year perspective plan for systematic development in the mining affected areas. That was a sort of big instruction given to the state government, but as just spoken by Dr. Bhushan, that there seems to be some issues, rather severe issues in planning of the prospective plan by the DMFs. To recognize the need for more effective development of DMF funds, the Ministry of Mine constituted a committee that was led by the Additional Secretary of Ministry of Mine in June 2022 to review the PM-PK guidelines, and in which I acknowledge that iFOREST has contributed a lot. This review led to publication of revised guidelines in January 2024, broadening the scope of DMF interventions to include animal husbandry, agriculture, and housing in the priority areas. Earlier, there were 8 priority areas. Now there are 11 priority sectors. These were to addressing the evolving needs of the mining affected regions and the people. The revised guidelines strengthen the monitoring by including provisions for CAG audits and state level monitoring committees. I am happy to share that CAG has identified, I think, 11 or 12 states this year for CAG audit priority on priority. So in July 2024, we launched the National DMF portal, which was a game changer in ensuring the transparency and accountability and efficiency. The portal provides a dynamic dashboard for analytics, project oversight, and repository of best practices, enabling cross-learning and public participation. This portal is visible to public. Anybody can access, see the project level details also. The statewide district seems to quite customer that user-friendly portal. So DMF accruals are set to increase significantly with rising mineral demand in steel, coal, cement, and critical minerals. Iron ore production could reach 660 MTPA by 2030 and 870 MTPA by 2035, driven by the infrastructure and industrial growth. Coal production has just achieved, I think, some 2-3 days back, 1 billion tons a year, and is projected to rise to 1.5 billion tons per annum by 2030. Expanding critical mineral extraction for India's green energy transition will further boost the DMF collections. This growth presents a historic opportunity for long-term socio-economic transformation in the mining affected areas. As funds grow, robust governance mechanisms is essential. This includes developing 5-year perspective plan to align DMF spending with long-term local needs, improving participatory planning, which has already been recognized, should be implemented in letter and spirit. Social audits, real-time digital monitoring, and independent impact assessment are also need of the hour to improve governance and track fund utilization effectively. I would once again like to extend my sincere appreciation to iFOREST for its dedicated efforts in assessing and analyzing the impact of DMFs over the years. Their commitment to evidence-based research and policy advocacy has significantly contributed to the refinement of governance and resource utilization. As we gather here today to reflect a decade of DMF implementation, I encourage each of you to share your insights and experiences. Together, let us pave the way for an even greater impact, ensuring that every initiative contributes meaningfully to the sustainable development of mining affected regions. I'm confident that the deliberations in today's meeting will reinforce our collective resolve and inspire us to achieve new milestones. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all participants, stakeholders, and organizers for their unwavering dedication to this cause. I wish today's discussions great success, and we will go through the report by iFOREST, and we will make use of that report, the findings in that report suitably for future modifications or reforms in the DMF. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your address and the long-standing efforts that we all have put together to make DMFs perform better. I would now request Shri Arava Rajkamal ji, Secretary, Department of Mines and Geology, Government of Jharkhand, one of top mining states of India, as well as Shri Rajkamal. We know him for long times. Arava ji has been the District Commissioner of very top mining districts of Jharkhand and now holding a very, very important position. Welcome, Arava Rajkamal ji. I please request you to deliver your observations on today's occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrestha ji. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Firstly, I want to thank Chandrabhushan ji and Shrestha ji for organizing such an important event on the occasion of the completion of 10 years of DMFT. And Dinesh sir also given a very broad and important perspective, that of the Government of India, and how the scheme has evolved over the period of 10 years. First, I'll start with a caveat, actually 2 caveats. First one is that my opinion, whatever I'm expressing, their opinions, and because I'm not like authorized to express the of the state government unless until it's taken the approval of the competent authority. And number 2, right now I'm sitting in a place, legislative assembly, where my connection is very tricky. So please forgive me if I get disconnected. I'll again try to join back as soon as possible. With these caveats, and on a personal note, I want to start why DMFT is a very special thing for me at a personal level. Like Shrestha ji has mentioned, I worked as a deputy commissioner of West Singhbhum. For nearly 4 years, I was there in the district. So I saw the conception, the DMFT thing progress from conception to what it is today. So when I went to the district, the only thing that was there is the account was opened, nothing else. So we were literally starting from the scratch. So we just read the act, we just read the rules, we just read the guidelines, and we had to just start from the scratch. And then later on, it so happened that again I worked as a director of mines for nearly half a year, where I had to see it from the perspective of a state, from a perspective of a director. And God has given me another opportunity now. At the end of the 10th year, I'm taking the responsibility of Secretary of Mines. So I believe there's a personal connection with the scheme also. And just like my journey, I believe the DMFT also gone through 3 phases. Like the first phase is the conception phase, where I would say it's a phase of ambiguity. When it started, every district was having a very high aspirations, but I would call it a period of ambiguity in the sense that there were already structures in place at the district level. There was already the various committees which are headed by various dignitaries. For example, there is a district vigilance committee, which is headed Disha committee, it is called now. It is headed by the honorable MP. And there is a 20-point development committee, or the district planning committee, earlier it used to be called. That will be headed by the state in charge minister. So usually districts are used to such meetings or bodies where it is constituted by not just the officers, but elected representatives. So when DMFT started, in a practical sense, in a practical level, at the district level, everybody thought it's another committee that has come up. But especially with these districts where there's a huge amount of money being accrued, slowly the evolution took some time. There is a sense of ambiguity about the roles also. So what is the role of management committee? What is the role of governing council? How frequently should they meet? And because it so happens, it's a little weird in the sense, like when DC chairs a committee, the meeting happens 2 days later in the district vigilance committee, where the honorable MP is the chair. So that sync has taken some time for people to chairman, and the members are the elected representatives. So it took some time to define the affected areas, what are the directly affected areas, indirectly affected areas, how to progress. Should we focus on pockets, or should we take the district as a whole, develop the commons? Because when the DMFT thing came up and the money started accruing, people started looking at the needs. What are the challenges of this particular district? For example, West Singhbhum, the core issue is that the roads are in very bad shape. But it's the priority of the state government also, in a way, that they have chosen to focus on drinking water, which is a priority sector. So instead of focusing on 10 different aspects, the government decided, why don't we focus on one aspect, and let's do a good job there, and let's saturate the provision of drinking water, that particular sector. So that's how the vision has started. So more or less nearly 80 to 90% of our schemes were taken up regarding drinking water. Of course, there was a great need for that. Only the phase of ambiguity got over. And also there was an important thing about the Gram Sabha also. During, you have mentioned, Chandrabhushan ji in his presentation clearly mentioned, most of the areas fall in the scheduled areas. So there is a PESA Act, and we have to give the importance to the village Gram Sabha, who has the capacity to take the decision about the planning framework and the development activities in the village. So how to sync them together, that also took some time. You have to build the capacity at the Gram Sabha, where earlier schemes of this nature, this extent, were never taken up. So that took some time to be onboarded. And also, though it's a government body, it's a trust. So there is a concept of independent audit. So that thing came up. So you had to create so many verticals about implementation also. So since slowly the first phase, I think during the COVID time it got over. I think post-COVID, I'd call it the second phase, the phase of settlement, where DMFT became the real thing in the district, where people realized the potential of DMFT. They got the clarity about the mandate that they got, and the trust started to function well. There was a good synergy in the trust committees. Slowly, I believe that is where the most of the expenditure took place. Some very productive things came up. And now we are entering the third phase. That I split it into 5 years, 5 years. In the next 5 years that is coming up now, I believe this is the phase of transformation, especially after the report that you have given and the amendments, which are amendments to the rules which are suggested by the Government of India. That took DMFT to the next level now. This is the phase of transformation, where we're focusing on impact, where we're focusing about the functionality, and we're looking at the bottlenecks, what actually hindered the performance during the 10 years. So I believe these 3 phases will be learning, I believe, in a way, the phases for all of us. And like I mentioned, Government of Jharkhand took the drinking water sector as the key priority. But eventually it so happened there is another mega program that has been launched by Government of India, Jal Jeevan Mission. So the districts which have taken up these schemes earlier, felt they're at loss, because had they not taken up those projects would have been financed 50 by state government and the central government. So it so happens in the hindsight, when you look at it, like it's a very complex kind of expression at the district level. Maybe some districts, some DMFTs must be thinking rather we should have taken up some other schemes. So coming to the challenges, some of the basic observations I want to share, because firstly, there is already a structure that is existing at the district level, and there is a role defined to the deputy commissioner and deputy development commissioner or CEO Jilla Panchayat. So in all these states, other than DMFT also, there is a huge amount of money that has been spent in various sectors under various heads district administration. So to treat this as an independent, a special purpose vehicle, that we are unable to see. I believe the key point that Chandrabhushanji was trying to make in his presentation was that we're not taking a special purpose vehicle kind of an approach, where this is a windfall that we got for the district, and we should have a target of social parameters which we need to achieve, and then the DMFT role will cease to exist in a way. So that kind of a special purpose vehicle kind of a mechanism, we don't see it. Because right now at the district level, the delegation of powers is fixed in a way. For example, if I have to build a road, or if I have to build a health subcenter of sort, so if the amount goes beyond 1 crore, the deputy commissioner will not have power to sanction it. I know that governing a management committee has power up to 5 crores. So hypothetically, let's take up a scheme that costs more than 5 crores. Let's say it's a very important road, or a very important, let's say it's a nursing college, or maybe a scheme of very prominent, very important nature. The technical sanction has to be accorded by the engineer in chief who sits in the state headquarters, because the engineers who are posted in the district has the technical sanction power only up to 50 lakhs. So always in most of the scheme implementation, at the district level, the powers that are delegated are very less. So eventually, when you expect them to spend 500 crores, there is one, the capacity limitation. The other one is the delegation of powers. So this is something like at the state level, even we are trying at the district, in the state of Jharkhand also, we're trying to create a mechanism where we can give more delegation of powers to the district administration, because it has to be in sync. For example, if the state government allows the deputy commissioner to sanction, let's say, a project worth 30 crores. At the same time, in a different scheme, I cannot permit him to go beyond 1 crore. It doesn't make sense. So there has to be a sync if we are continuing with the same structure at the district level. And also, an important point, I think you must have highlighted in your reports also, about the PMU. There is no uniformity in the PMU. There are districts which have taken services from good management consultants, development consultants, who are giving good studies, not uniform across the districts. That is also something that we have taken from your study, and constantly during our interactions also I come across that. And other than that, also recruitments at the district level. Let's say for 50 crores, like what Chandrabhushanji was telling, to have an independent CEO, there has to be deliberation. I'm sure it's at a personal level, I can say it's a very good suggestion. There has to be deliberation, because now I don't believe there is a shortage of officers from the civil service. There must be a good number of officers who will be willing to take up this role. But there has to be a proper deliberation, because the deputy commissioner in the district and the deputy development commissioner in the district, they also have the same mandate, and they also handle so many other schemes. So there should not be any overlap, or maybe there should not be any ambiguity during regarding their roles. So tomorrow one should not say that, okay, this is a mining area, I will not take it up. Go to the CEO. So that kind of disharmony is not something that we expect. And also, deputy commissioner has some inherent in the form of a landlord of the district, in the sense like can get the government land transferred, and he can get the land cleared for these major projects, if at all such projects are suggested. So this is something that we need to take up. If the independent CEO also comes up, like how to enable him, how to empower him to work independently. So this is something I really like the suggestion that he has given, but there has to be more deliberation, and we should go to the nitty-gritties to take DMFT, at least in these 21 districts, in an SPV mode. For example, I can take the example of Jharia master plan. There is a Jharia Rehabilitation and Development Program that has been run by the Government of India and Ministry of Coal. Even there, the concept is to have an SPV so that it should work as an SPV. It should focus on the rehabilitation part, and it should develop the area that is affected because of the fire, coal fires. So this is something of that sort that we can need to take inspiration from. Other than that, I really thank Government of India, and Dinesh ji is a good friend, and we attend the meetings together. He's been a helping hand. I really appreciate the concept of district boundaries, erasing the district boundaries in the new rules. This is something that is very essential. Just because the district is different, though the area falls right next to the mining operations, it's been not considered earlier, but that's a very good suggestion. Also, it's a good change. And also adding housing to the priority sector is a very essential. It's a very important contribution that you have done. And also, but there is something still that needs to be flagged, is that again the state government has also expressed regarding the 15 kilometer radius thing. See, it's more. I also understand that you want to create a model area in that 15 kilometer radius. I believe there is no doubt, but it has to be understood that the mines are on the four sides has been covered by forests. So out of this 15 kilometers, usually 12 to 13 kilometers, most of the land in West Singhbhum, if you see, I think it's like 40% of the district is forest area. Most of the mines are located in the forest area. So there, left with the DMFT, if there is an exception, there should be a higher level where they can refer in such particular cases. So that is one thing that I want to highlight. And I also really like the suggestion that they have given. We should compare it like a sovereign wealth fund also, because eventually we're talking about coal transition. And Sheshtaji or Chandrabhushan is also mentioning that in some district there is already there is a decrease in the production of coal. We're trying to go to the details of it. Is there any specific reason for that? But eventually we know that at one point of time, the country is going to go towards net neutral carbon zero. There will be a reduction in the demand for coal. And slowly when these mines stop being operational, then there will be a big chunk of demography that goes through this transition. So why can't we have a wealth fund of sort, which can actually give better returns, which can protect the demography over a longer period of time? Some modality of that sort can be suggested by iFOREST. I believe that is I trust. And I had one more small suggestion that I have is that irrigation is also a very important priority. Should be irrigation, also energy. Today, energy, for example, building a substation should be a priority sector for us, because without power, you believe that no school can run, no health subcenter can run. I believe energy is something that we need to add to the priority sector. And also there has to be an independent, we can even create a vertical structure at a state level also. If you believe district is like too small in a way, like to create this implementation wing, we can have a state level implementation wing who will be dedicated to implement DMFT fund schemes on the request of the DMFTs, if at all they ask us. So that is something that we can devise at the state level, where we can build a very strong structure with good number of engineers, specialists. For example, environmental conservation. If you go to a district like Chhatra, if you go to a district like Chaibasa, it's very difficult to design a project about environment that can be implemented at the district level. So that level of capacity for planning and design, and there has to be a higher body that can be that can look into these kind of schemes. So that is something that I want to add. And last but not the least, I fully agree with what Chandrabhushan ji and Dinesh sir has mentioned, that now it's the time for us to evaluate the impact. Now we should go for the impact assessment. What have we done? What went right and what went wrong? So that study is something definitely Government of Jharkhand also. I believe that during our discussions, we are very positive towards taking up such an impact study. We need organizations to go on the ground and understand the outcomes that we have generated by spending these many crores of money. So with those thoughts, I once again thank Shrestha ji and Chandrabhushan ji for giving me this opportunity. And I'm also a keen learner. I believe that whatever outcome, whatever reports that you are publishing, please kindly forward them to me so that I'll also learn the suggestions that you give, and we are there to make this better, and we are going to go to the next phase, post amended rules phase, where I believe the transformation that we are expecting will be witnessed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arava Rajkamal ji, for touching on some of the very, very important points आपने जो बताया, जैसे कि the reality that many of the districts will lose on DMFT funds आगे जाके. So how can we make the best use of it, think around it, create the endowment fund? How do we empower the CEO? That is important. Many things, in fact, we all were looking into. I was taking the notes, like, capacity, how do we build? State level pe hum kuch kar sakte hai ya nahi. I believe iFOREST would love to undertake such impact assessment study. We would love to be part of this evaluation and really capture what is going on to just improve the scope of the investments in the coming years. And energy, my colleague Manvi will moderate the next session. In fact, at iFOREST, we did a report, Jharkhand ka hi assessment karke humne kiya tha ki what is the potential of DMFs to support distributed renewable energy scale up to improve the lives and livelihoods of people in mining areas. And Manvi with her team had done that study. So, you just opened that opportunity to be discussed in the coming sessions. With that, CP, any closing remarks from your side? Otherwise,
I'm very encouraged, very encouraged with comments from, Shri Mahur as well as Shri Arava. I think Arava has already put the next 5 years, the year of transformation. And I think we all need to work together. He's a very smart civil servant, so he knows how to place the importance. And I think these next 5 years should be transformation because, as I said, we will have far more money than we had in the past, and we should be really utilizing it to improve the lives of people. Thank you very much. Very encouraged.
Thank you, Dinesh, Mahur ji and Arava Rajkamal ji for your interventions. I will now move on to the next session where we have more representation from districts. I'll allow a minute for everyone to join in. So yes, and Manvi, the floor is yours. I'll just be there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I'll have to leave the session now.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you, sir, for joining in, and I'll share the report with you, and also Arava ji, I'll just ensure that a copy is done.
Thank you, Shrestha ji. With your permission, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandrabhushan. Please keep me in the loop and please share the findings. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll share the findings.
So thank you, Shrestha, for handing over the session to me. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining this very important discussion on DMF implementation and governance issues. My name is Manvi, like Shrestha mentioned, and I work as Program Director at iFOREST. And this session that I'm moderating is on DMF implementation and governance issues. And in some ways, we are essentially carrying forward the conversation that Shri Arava Rajkamal ji has alluded to, coming from the grassroots at the district implementation level experience that he brings in. He has already talked about some of these issues, and we'll take up that conversation with two more representatives from coal districts of India. We understand the purpose with which DMF has been set up. We understand the progress that it has achieved and the various reform measures that are sort of required going forward. Effective implementation, transparent governance, strategic fund utilization, all these remain critical challenges as well as sort of core goals. And in this session, we have the opportunity to hear from some of the sort of key decision makers and representatives from the district level who are involved very much in managing and implementing DMF. So we have the opportunity to get first-hand insights into these challenges and achievements that we've talked about. I'll invite both our panelists one by one, and I'll request you to keep your first remarks to 5 to 7 minutes so that we can have one more question and maybe some audience Q&A also after that, though we are running sort of tight on the time. But yeah, so I'll first invite Shri Sushma Bilongji, she is CEO DMF from Sundargarh, Odisha. I would request ma'am to please make your opening remarks.
Namaskar. Thank you, Mandavi. I'm Sushma Bilong. I'm working as the Chief Executive Officer in DMF Trust at Sundargarh in the state of Odisha. When we for the common man, but when it comes to take up projects for implementation and make decisions, it's very challenging because DMF is guided by their own set of rules and guidelines. And it is very difficult to please a common man who doesn't understand what is DMF. So in that scenario, in Sundargarh, DMF has been working. And like the earlier learned resource persons, they have made their sharing. It is very much evident what changes we require. But to bring out these changes, we have to go through this present condition. So for Sundargarh, as you know, it's a second highest mining district with the collecting the revenue, but it has its own challenges. This district is has dense population within the cities and along the developed areas, but it has the mining areas in the northern side of the district and the southern side of the district, two extreme corners. So to bring about any intervention, you have to make a different plan for each of them. So in that way, it's a very sparsely populated district. That is one of our challenges. And as you know, then also DMF cannot work alone. They have to coexist with the support of the existing government system, where there's shortage of staff and the understanding about DMF, which is always a very challenging, and the language issues and the other connectivities. So this is the scenario in which we are working. So it has always been a challenge, but investment from DMF has brought about changes, especially in the health sector, which has been neglected, and in the educational sector. And in Sundargarh, like the earlier speakers, they have pointed out, we are more into infrastructure and less into the soft skills. But here in Sundargarh, primarily we focus the basic infrastructural improvement, followed by improvement of the soft skill. Soft skill is not easily acceptable, but it is being thrusted upon to various means to make it acceptable. So we have intervention with the teachers, we have intervention with the students, and also the wards, because we cannot put it alone on the teachers and students. So the wards involvement is also helping us to create that acceptance for the soft skills, and it is being applauded by them. In the connectivity sector, we have worked out the least connected villages, the villages which have no connections. Accordingly, we have worked out the gradation to which department it belongs, and we are mapping it so that good connectivity is created. with proper convergence with the state and intervention of DMF. Because I've pointed out, because the place where we are working, DMF cannot stand alone. DMF has to work along with the government. So these are some of the very challenging scenarios where the DMF is working in Sundargarh.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll come back to you with a follow-up question.
Okay.
I'll now move on to I'll invite Shri तुलेश्वर हीरा सिंह मरकम जी, जो कि MLA हैं कोरबा से। आप प्लीज अपना कैमरा ऑन कर लीजिए सर। एंड इफ यू कैन सर मेक योर इंटरवेंशन। लार्जली आपसे सर ये सवाल रहेगा हमारा, क्योंकि अभी तक हमने कोरबा का जो DMF अक्रूवल है इस समय 4,315 करोड़ का टोटल अभी तक अक्रू करा है डिस्ट्रिक्ट ने, विच इज अ वेरी ह्यूज अमाउंट। और वही बात हो रही है जो अभी मैम ने भी बोला कि फोकस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे ज्यादा है इस समय। डू यू थिंक कि स्टेट या डिस्ट्रिक्ट को एक तरह से लोकल नीड्स के साथ अलाइनमेंट लेने में कुछ परेशानियां हो रही हैं, या किस तरह से वो अलाइनमेंट बेहतर किया जा सकता है? अगर आप उसके बारे में थोड़ा हमें बता पाएं।
कैमरा हमारा जी अदिला रहा है क्या? कैमरा जी नमस्ते।
तो ये कैमरा आई
आवाज
थिंक
आ रही मेरी?
आपकी आवाज तो आ रही है, बट कैमरा दूसरी तरफ है। उसको फोन कैमरा अपनी तरफ कर लें
अच्छा
अगर।
ये क्या है, अपन सिस्टम ज्यादा चलाते नहीं है,
नो
है
प्रॉब्लम।
नहीं? बहुत ज्यादा इसमें कहाँ से फ्रंट पे कहाँ पे आया कैमरा, ये भी हमको समझ नहीं है।
आप बोल भी सकते हैं सर, कैमरा अगर आप ऑफ भी करना चाहें, आई थिंक।
हाँ बिल्कुल।
हेलो हेलो,
जी सर, आवाज तो बिल्कुल आ रही है।
आवाज आ रही है? सभी को नमस्ते नमस्कार। कोरबा
नमस्कार
जिले
सर।
में जिस तरीके से
आप बताएं सर, आवाज आ
कहाँ
रही
से
है?
मेरे हम्म कोरबा जिले में जिस तरीके से आपने बताया कि 4,300 करोड़, अभी तक के हमारे तो जिले पे जनप्रतिनिधियों को कितने फंड है डिस्ट्रिक्ट माइनिंग फंड? 4 से 15 एक साल का है, या जिस 6 साल का जो 10 दिन प्लान जो 10 साल का? हेलो
सर आवाज कुछ कट रही है इस समय।
हाँ चलिए चलिए, ठीक आ रही है आवाज?
अब हाँ जी सर।
हेलो,
जी सर।
कोरबा जिले में जिस तरीके से डिस्ट्रिक्ट माइनिंग फंड का आपने बताया 4,315 करोड़ रुपया, ये एक साल का रेन्यू है कि पूरे 10 साल का है?
सर ये
हेलो,
अभी अप्रूवल है सर।
पूरे 10 साल का।
ये 10
10
साल का है।
10 साल का है। जी 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 जी, 10 साल पे जिस तरीके से कोरबा जिले पे पानी के लिए, उसके साथ साथ बच्चों के जो एजुकेशन के लिए बहुत से प्रोग्राम चल रहे हैं, स्कूल बिल्डिंग एवं छात्रावास, बहुत सारे काम, एवं जो शिक्षक कमी है हमारे जो स्कूलों पर, वहां पर संविदा शिक्षक को संविदा वेतन के मानदेय के रूप में भी दे करके मानदेय शिक्षक डीएम फंड से दिया जा रहा है। निश्चित रूप से डीएम फंड हमारे शिक्षा के लिए और हमारे क्षेत्रों के विकास के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण फंड है। और जिस तरीके से हमें जो प्रतिवर्ष जनप्रतिनिधियों, जिस तरीके से पिछले साल का जो मुझे प्रपोजल दिया गया था, करीब 2 करोड़ रुपए मेरे खुद के प्रपोजल से उन्होंने स्वीकृति किया। इस साल भी अभी 29 तारीख को बैठक है डीएम फंड की, वहां पर भी अभी बात हुई कि आप भी अब 2 करोड़ का बजट प्रस्ताव दे सकते हैं। ये खाली जनप्रतिनिधियों से 2 करोड़ रुपये के प्रस्ताव मांगे जाते हैं, बाकी अन्य जनप्रतिनिधियों के प्रस्ताव से इस डीए फंड को खर्च करते हैं विकास के लिए। हेलो
जी सर, आपकी
हेलो,
आवाज
आ रही है?
सर,
मैं आपको
बोलिए।
जोड़ दिया।
हाँ।
तो बहुत सारे सेक्टर हैं जिस तरीके से हमारा कहना है कि भाई भागीदारी, जन भागीदारी, स्थानीय निवासियों की जन भागीदारी अधिक होनी चाहिए। बहुत से ऐसे जो प्रभावित क्षेत्र से जो प्रतिनिधि चुने जाते हैं, उनको किसी तरीके से कोई ज्ञान नहीं होता, जानकारी नहीं होती, या फिर इस विषय पर जानकारी नहीं है डीएम फंड के बारे में।
हम्म,
ये तो महत्वपूर्ण होती है कि हमें जानकार व्यक्तियों को ही उसमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्रतिनिधि दिया जाए, या फिर पूरी पूरी जो एजेंडा जो है, किस किस सेक्टर में कितने कितने प्रस्ताव, कौन कौन से काम, या फिर एक साल में कितने काम करना है, कितने कितने प्रोजेक्ट, कितने बजट आए हैं एक साल में, वो पूरी पूरी जानकारी आनी चाहिए। दूसरा है स्थानीय के लिए पर्यावरण को भी ध्यान में रख करके पर्यावरण को बेहतर बनाने की भी दिशा में काम करना चाहिए डीएम फंड से। साथ ही साथ स्थानीय जो जनजाति समाज है, जहां तक देखा जाए, कोरबा जिले की बात करें या फिर रायगढ़ की बात करें, छत्तीसगढ़ की बात करें, सबसे ज्यादा जो प्रभावित है पांचों क्षेत्र इफेक्टेड है इसका। तो पांचों क्षेत्र की संस्कृति सभ्यता को भी जोड़ करके विकास किया जाना चाहिए। खनिज दोहन जो कंपनियां कर रही है, उन कंपनियों को भी सीएसआर फंड से संस्कृति के विकास के लिए और स्थानीय बोली भाषा, उनकी जो कल्चर है, उनके विकास के लिए भी इस दिशा में काम किया जाना चाहिए। ये महत्वपूर्ण है। साथ ही साथ आज जिस तरीके से कोरबा जिला है, जहाँ जहाँ माइनिंग सेक्टर, जो हैंड पंप है अभी से सूखने लगे हैं, पानी की बहुत बहुत ज्यादा कमी पाई जा रही है। अभी भी बहुत सारे क्षेत्रों पर जहाँ जहाँ कोल माइंस है, बहुत पानी का स्रोत बहुत नीचे चला गया है। तो इस दिशा पे भी काम करने की जरूरत है, जिससे सूखा पड़े और लोगों को पानी मिल जाए। अभी अभी एक मैं उनको एक पेपर कटिंग भेजा था, जिस पर आज की पेपर है, पेपर कटिंग खबरें हैं। इस स्थानीय निवासियों को जिनके लिए जिनके जिनके लिए फंड है, वो फंड से ना तो उनका इलाज हो पा रहा है, ना उनको विकास हो पा रहा है, ये कहना पेपर कहना है। और निश्चित रूप से जो माइनिंग एरिया है, माइनिंग एरिया के लोग आज सबसे ज्यादा बीमार है, और उनके लिए बेहतर से बेहतर, जो प्रभावितों के लिए माइंस में जो काम कर उनके लिए बड़े बड़े अस्पताल बने हैं, पर जो प्रभावित क्षेत्र के लोग, उनके लिए ऐसा कोई व्यवस्था नहीं बना है जहां पर वो इलाज करा सके। मैंने बात की अभी मेरे जो विधानसभा क्षेत्र अंतर्गत विकास खंड पोंडी पुरोड़ा पर, वहाँ के जो बीएमओ साहब से, रानी अटारी कोल माइंस है जहां पर प्रभावित क्षेत्र है, वहाँ के करीब करीब 40-50 बच्चे इफेक्टेड हैं चर्म रोग से। तो डॉक्टर ने भी कहा कि मैं जल्द से जल्द इलाज के लिए क्रीम जो भी उनका जो है बेहतर से बेहतर इलाज कर रहे हैं, परंतु एसएसएल प्रबंधन या फिर डीएम फंड से हमें ऐसा कोई हॉस्पिटल नहीं मिला, जिसके कारण से हम स्थानीय शासन के जो जो हॉस्पिटल उस पर ही हम लोग निर्भर रहना पड़ता है। तो हमारे लिए भी एक जो प्रभावितों के लिए एक बेहतर से बेहतर अस्पताल है, मैं कहना चाहूंगा। सभी को धन्यवाद। बहुत ही अच्छी प्लानिंग है डीएम फंड का, और बेहतर से बेहतर हम इसका उपयोग कर सके, यही मैं कहना चाहता हूँ। आप सबका जो प्लान है बहुत ही बेहतर प्लान है, परंतु कहीं ना कहीं जिस तरीके से पेपर बहुत अच्छी प्लान है, परंतु धरातल पर कहीं ना कहीं जिस तरीके से निर्माण कर रहे हैं, उनमें क्वालिटी, उनकी जो क्वालिटी है, इस कितने साल का जो है हम रोड बना रहे हैं, पुलिया बना रहे हैं, सड़क बना रहे हैं, वो कितने वर्षों के लिए है? कोई ऐसा कुछ है टाइम पीरियड है कि 2 साल, 3 साल, 5 साल? अभी पता चलता है कि सड़क जो बनी, बिल्डिंग बनी, 5 साल तक के पूरी पूरी जर्जर हो जाती है। उसकी टाइम पीरियड कितनी होनी चाहिए, क्या होनी चाहिए कि अच्छी क्वालिटी का निर्माण हो, ऐसा हम आपसे निवेदन करते हैं। तो इसकी भी दिशा पे भी काम हो आपका। सबका धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार, आपने मुझे समझा। धन्यवाद।
सर आपसे एक सवाल और मुझे करना था इस बारे में। आपने बहुत सारे मुद्दों पे के बारे में हमें जानकारी दी, पानी से लेके स्वास्थ्य से लेके इवन ऑपरेशन एंड मेंटेनेंस ऑफ एसेट्स जो कि इस DMF के क्रिएट हो रहे हैं उसके बारे में भी आपने बताया कि उस पे ध्यान देने की जरूरत है। बट एक एरिया जो कोल माइनिंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में है लाइवलीहुड्स का, कि अगर हम लॉन्ग टर्म व्यू देखें तो किस तरह से एक एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन या धीरे धीरे और कौन से लाइवलीहुड्स के ऑप्शंस क्रिएट हो सकते हैं इन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में, उसके बारे में DMF को कैसे यूटिलाइज किया जाए, इस पे आपका क्या सोचना है?
निश्चित रूप से जो है अब ज्यादा से ज्यादा शिक्षा को बेहतर बनाए। जिस तरीके से कोरबा जिला पे डिस्ट्रिक्ट माइनिंग फंड से हम 100 बच्चे को प्रस्ताव दिए हैं, 100 बच्चे नीट की तैयारी कर रहे हैं। वो रायपुर मुख्यालय पर जाकर के उसकी पूरी खर्चा DMF फंड से दिया जा रहा है। तो उनकी संख्या बढ़ाई जाए जिससे हम और भी और बच्चों को भी बेहतर से बेहतर शिक्षा दे सके, जो देश के भविष्य है, हम सबके भविष्य है। और यदि हम उनको बेहतर से शिक्षा दें तो निश्चित तौर पर छत्तीसगढ़ प्रदेश या देश विकसित हाथों में, एक स्वस्थ हाथों में जाएगा, एक शैक्षणिक हाथों में जाएगा, ऐसा हम करना है। और भी है, कला के क्षेत्र पे है, अलग अलग कौशल विकास के क्षेत्र पर है, उस पर अधिक से अधिक जोर देने की जरूरत है, कौशल विकास पर।
डेफिनेटली सर, वो स्किलिंग गैप तो एक है जिसको बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा आगे जाके बनने वाला है, जिसपे ध्यान देने की जरूरत होगी और DMF फंड को बहुत इफेक्टिवली उसके लिए यूटिलाइज किया जा सकता है। सुषमा, मैं आपके पास आऊंगी यूटिलाइजेशन की बात पे। हमने पहले भी देखा कि एक इंडिया लेवल पे ट्रेंड है अंडर यूटिलाइजेशन का DMF फंड्स को लेके। तो आपके एक्सपीरियंस what are the administrative challenges that you experience that lead to these delays? And at a district level, are there some steps that maybe you have taken in Sundargarh to kind of expedite things, या आपके कुछ सुझाव हैं जो और लोग भी फॉलो कर सकते हैं for expediting things going forward?
ने अच्छा सवाल पूछा मांडवी जी। जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा था, DMF क्या है, लोगों की सोच बहुत अलग है। दे थिंक फंड इज अक्रूइंग, सो डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अपने लोग बैठे हैं, उनको जो चाहिए वो अपनी फाइनेंस निर्णय लेके कर लेते हैं। तो अभी हमने भी काम करते वक्त यही देखा, कितने इन्वेस्टमेंट के बावजूद लाइवलीहुड सेक्टर में इंटरवेंशन की जरूरत है। जब इंटरवेंशन हम कहते हैं तो people come up with very noble type of projects जो कि हमारे कॉमन मैन जो कि अफेक्टेड हैं ड्यू टू माइनिंग, तो उनके लिए ये काम में नहीं आता। भी नीचे गिरे पड़े हैं, उनको उठाना है। तो नाउ आवर थ्रस्ट, इट इज अ चैलेंज। यहाँ पर उस तरह की इन्वेस्टमेंट जो लोग चाहते हैं कि जिस इन्वेस्टमेंट की इजी रिटर्न हो, बिकॉज अगर हम किसी पार्टनर्स को लेते हैं, हमारे साथ काम करते हैं, तो दे नीड अ पेमेंट फॉर द सर्विसेज, तो उसमें रिटर्न इजी हो, सबकी वही नजरिया रहती है। तो इट इज अ वेरी चैलेंजिंग थिंग उस सिनारियो में काम करने के लिए। तो अभी हमारी यही कोशिश है, हम जा रहे हैं गाँव में, लोगों के साथ बैठ रहे हैं, उनकी जरूरतें क्या है, उनकी बेसिक स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, उसे असेस कर रहे हैं। अगर आप पढ़ना चाहते हो तो हम आपको शिक्षा के जरिए आपको और स्ट्रेंथन करेंगे ताकि आप आगे बढ़ सकोगे। लोगों को जहां शिक्षा के एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं है उस तरह के मीन्स लोगों के लिए, तो उनके लिए वोकेशनल हम कैसे कर सकते हैं सो दैट दे हैव अर्निंग फॉर देमसेल्व्स, अ सस्टेनेबल अर्निंग। ये नहीं कि आज हमने दे दिया, हम वहां से निकल गए तो कल को फिर वो उसी हाल में आ जाए। तो हमारा अभी कोशिश यही है, हम रीच आउट कर रहे हैं लोगों को ताकि वार्तालाप के जरिए, उनकी पार्टिसिपेशन के जरिए, लोकल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स को इन्वॉल्व करके हम एक साथ कैसे उनको आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं। बिकॉज अगर हम अकेले करेंगे तो हमेशा दैट लेग पुलिंग एंड क्रिटिसिज्म विल ऑलवेज फॉलो अस। तो हमें करना है सबको लेके आगे बढ़ने का। So this is a strategy now here.
No, needs assessment is absolutely crucial and you're right about that. और consensus भी बहुत difficult target होता है, but I
Yeah.
understand the importance of consensus when we're working with community.
Yeah.
So also very commendable. I had one more question which is actually coming up in comments also a lot कि जैसे टीचर्स की बहाली या डॉक्टर्स की बहाली और इस तरह की जो प्रैक्टिसेस हैं उसमें बहुत चैलेंजेस आते हैं डीएमएफ यूटिलाइजेशन के, क्योंकि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चेंज हो जाता है, प्रायोरिटीज चेंज हो जाती हैं। उससे रिलेटेड कुछ बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस या कुछ रेफरेंसेस हैं जो आप हमसे शेयर करना चाहें?
जैसे आपने कहा डॉक्टर्स की, टीचर्स की तो हमने अभी स्ट्रेंथनिंग ही किया है, आगे कुछ जाके वी विल वर्क ऑन इट। with regard to doctors, with health services, we have scarcity of doctors in the government system. तो हमने doctors employment के लिए भी we have invested with the district health administration. About 46 numbers of doctors have been deployed through the DMF funding, but it is looked after by the district health administration only. We are not looking into it directly, but we are at the back end assessing uska impact kya ho raha hai, whether the services are truly trickling down, for which purpose this investment has been made, वो हम critically अभी follow कर रहे हैं। तो इसके जरिए जहाँ पे डॉक्टर्स नहीं है वहां पे लोगों को हेल्थ सर्विसेज की सुविधा मिली है। फिर हमने यहाँ पर जहाँ पर वी डोंट हैव दिस हेल्थ इंस्टीट्यूशंस, बेसिक हेल्थ इंस्टीट्यूशंस, लोगों के पास हेल्थ सर्विस पहुंचाने के लिए हमने मोबाइल एम्बुलेंस, वहां पे हमारे एक डॉक्टर, एक पैरामेडिक्स रहते हैं, in coordination with the local medical officer, they reach out to the villages. फिर वहां से they give the basic services, and if कुछ there's some critical referrals to be made, they connect them with the next medical officer. इस तरह का it is then हम अपने district के health institution तक उनको treatment के लिए हम सुविधा, यही हमारी कोशिश, and it is working out, but it is challenging because everything lies with the commitment of the team at the end. तो वही रहती है। So monitoring is a big challenge because यहाँ commitment की भी question आ जाती है। Still then the push is there, and जब हम जाते हैं लोगों से मिलते हैं, they say the mobile vans were here, and likewise for health हमने यहाँ पर जननी सुरक्षा के लिए हमने एक मातृ ज्योति स्कीम भी अडॉप्ट किया है। So there is one checkup compulsory from the state. Inclusive of that, हम 4 prenatal checkup उनका कराते हैं, सोनोग्राफी। उसके लिए भी हमारे मेडिकल ऑफिसर्स को हमने रिस्पॉन्सिबल बनाया है। जो भी criticalities is observed, proper guidance is to be given so that we have healthy members in the society tomorrow. यही हमारी कोशिश है। तो इस तरह का हमारे 34 प्राइवेट क्लिनिक्स हमारे साथ एम्पैनल्ड है, उन्हें भी हमारी टीम बैकएंड में विजिट करती है so that to avoid anything wrong to happen. So these are some of the small initiatives which have started. अगर click कर गया then we'll reach out more.
Shrestha, I'll look to you if there are any additional questions that you would want to ask at this point, maybe from the audience Q&A.
हाँ, एक्चुअली ऑडियंस की तरफ से मानवी जो क्वेश्चन आया है, इट इज अ लॉट टू डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सबको मिला के। सुषमा जी, आप अगर थोड़ा रह जा सकते हैं तो अच्छा है, हम नेक्स्ट सेशन पे मूव कर सकते हैं। यू कैन बी पार्ट ऑफ द ऑडियंस, और हम क्या करेंगे, हम थोड़े क्वेश्चन के लिए 10 मिनट रखेंगे ये सेशन के एंड पे, क्योंकि बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन इंटरलिंक्ड है, नॉट टारगेटेड सुंदर करके के लिए, तो मैं कोशिश करूंगी कि आई विल टेक ऑल द क्वेश्चंस टुगेदर because we
Okay,
can start
Shrestha.
on the
I'm
next
there.
session. Manvi,
Okay.
I think that is fine, right?
Sure.
Okay.
No, no,
We can move that. हाँ, क्योंकि फर्स्ट सेशन का भी कुछ क्वेश्चन है, iFOREST के लिए भी कुछ क्वेश्चन है, so we can take all that together
Okay, okay.
around
No
the end of
issues.
the session. Thank you, thank you. If you can please stay back. I'm sure there are questions for you also. I already saw Sundargarh केओंझर के लिए question है. We'll move on to our next session, which is वॉइसेस फ्रॉम द ग्राउंड, और मैं आमंत्रित करूंगी हमारे जो साथी है सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से टू प्लीज जॉइन इन एंड इन अ मिनट आई जस्ट स्टार्ट द सेशन. थैंक यू. Ramesh, can you please turn on your camera? And I think Saroj is there. Welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'll keep this session in both Hindi and English because we have हमारे बहुत सी जगह से लोग हैं. Actually, we also have international participants joining us. तो कुछ सवाल हिंदी में रहेगा because there are many questions that have come in the chat box. But just to introduce the panel or the session, I would say it's a very diverse group of people जो सालों से state और district में grounds पे काम कर रहे हैं, and they are working on various issues. We have Shri Ramesh Sharma ji, who is from Ekta Parishad. Ramesh Sharma ji has been heading Ekta Parishad as the national convener for years, extensively working in the districts of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, also having presence in actually Northeast in many ways. He travels a lot. Ramesh bhai has worked with grassroots movement, including people in forested regions, deeply rooted in the issues of forest rights, land conservation, all of that. A very warm welcome, Ramesh bhai, aapko. Our next speaker and panelist is Shri Saroj Mahapatra ji. Saroj Mahapatra ji, PRADAN ka executive director hai. We all know PRADAN is a very grassroots organization, very closely related to decentralized governance, decentralized planning, lot of livelihood work the organization does, and closely works with grassroots and peoples to develop participatory plans. And Saroji, I know you have worked in Chhattisgarh. आपका प्रधान has झारखंड में भी प्रधान काम कर रहे हैं, उड़ीसा में भी काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत से स्टेट में काम कर रहे हैं, and there is a lot we'll want to request your perspectives today on inclusive planning that we have been talking since the morning, which is very important for DMFTs. Our third speaker and panelist is Srimati Swapna Sarangi ji. Swapna Sarangi ji is from Foundation for Ecological Security, a very, very important organization which is working on many issues, including sustainable livelihood. Or Swapna Sarangi ji, most importantly, women livelihood, women empowerment पे भी काम करते हैं. And because district mineral foundation and livelihood एक important issue तो है ही under high priority sector, but at the same time it is talking also about women development. And Swapna ji Angul में she is based, but she has been working with her colleagues in many important issues in the state of Orissa, which is the largest DMFT state in the country. And so Angul is one of the top DMFT district. A very warm welcome to you, Swapna ji, and looking forward to your interventions today. Our final panelist is Shibanand Rath ji. Shibanand Rath ji comes from an organization called Ekjut. Ekjut is a very, very important and unique organization, in fact, working very dedicatedly in tribal regions, particularly in tribal districts, on women and child development, particularly looking on children's health, malnutrition issues. And Ekjut has worked in many small ways to improve the health and improve, for example, under 5 mortality rate in many of the districts. And Ekjut has also worked closely with DMFT, including Swapna Sarangi ji has been very closely being part of many of the DMFT initiatives. So from both of you, from Swapna Sarangi ji as well as Shibanand Rath ji, we look forward to some of the practical ways that how civil society has been engaged in part of DMFT works. So with that, I'll start my question. I'll turn first to Ramesh Sharma ji. Ramesh bhai, आपके लिए मेरा पहला सवाल ये है कि सुबह से जैसे कि चंद्रभूषण जी तब 10 साल DMFT के बारे में बात कर रहे थे. He specified कि how DMFT was designed as a people's institution. Gram Sabhas have been empowered. It relates to some of the fundamental laws of the country, which upholds people's right. And then it gives many power to Gram Sabhas and tells to identify DMFT beneficiaries. Many things have been talked about. But in your experience, because you work a lot in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, and they have a lot of scheduled districts, particularly districts like Korba, Chhattisgarh mein to har mining district scheduled area ke andar aate hai lagbhag. So what have been your experience in the Gram Sabha involvement in DMF processes, be it planning, be it monitoring, be it anything as part of that? I'll request all of your interventions initially for about 3 to 4 minutes so that we have enough time for questioning and answer for each of the questions. Thank you, Ramesh.
Yeah, thanks, Rishta. Thanks, Chandrabhushan. Thanks all iFOREST और पूरी टीम. बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन है DMF के 10 years को लेके. शिष्टा, जो आपका जो सवाल जो है वो पूरा एक तरह से कहना चाहिए पेसा डिस्ट्रिक्ट, क्योंकि छत्तीसगढ़ और मध्य प्रदेश में लार्जली पेसा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ही कोल माइनिंग है. So what is happening here? So that's your question. And you are absolutely right that the legal framework of DMF, MMGR, or the policy framework of PRADAN Kalyan Yojana is not legally aligned with the PESA or the rules of the PESA, the state-specific rules of the PESA, which is a constitutional, social, and political violation of its schedule, I would say. Take just 2 examples, which is more than easy for us to understand. The president of the PESA Gram Sabha, छत्तीसगढ़ में भी अभी पेसा ग्राम सभा है, लेकिन पेसा ग्राम सभा के जो प्रेसिडेंट हैं, they are completely omitted under the consultative process. जब भी वहां पे DMF को लेके consultative process होता है, especially for the affected village or for the affected people. So the second example is a tribal advisory council, आदिवासी मंत्रणा परिषद जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं, which is a constitutional body, which is the highest constitutional body or the apex constitutional body under the PESA or the 5th schedule area, which is completely sidelined if there is any planning, if there is any monitoring, if there is any field implementation processes happening for the DMF. So there are many issues, but these are the 2 prominent issues, one at the village level and one at the state level. What needs to be done? What we can do here? First, there is a necessity to align the DMF within the legal and policy framework of PESA. As I state, कि मध्य प्रदेश में लास्ट ईयर 2024 में जो है वो रूल आया, छत्तीसगढ़ में उससे 2 साल पहले रूल आया, लेकिन कहीं पे भी उनके अलाइनमेंट को लेके जो है वो बहुत क्लियरिटी नहीं है, neither at the village level nor at the administrative level. A second suggestion is a micro plan must be as a mandatory provision for the allocation of DMF fund. I remember when we had a very initial phase of the DMF and MMDR, this was one of our key concerns, whether there is a mandatory provision based on the micro plan for the utilization of DMF or not, which is still not there. And that's kind of a gross violation of Pradhan Mantri Kharij Kalyan Yojana or the DMF provisions. So these are the legal challenges here. But Shri, if you allow me, just I want to flag another key concern.
which is the absence of grievances redressal mechanism. Take example of illegal mining.
Ramesh bhai,
I mean,
I will actually come back to you. That is my one question that I have lined up. So I'll reserve that time for you because I have that question for you actually.
Perfect. Thank you.
मैं उस पे आऊंगी because we have been talking. I'll request your precise intervention. In that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ramesh bhai, I'm moving on to Saroj for now because you stopped at micro planning and that is where exactly मेरा सवाल Saroj Mahapatra ji से है. Saroj ji, we all know that micro planning or inclusive planning particularly, I think more importantly, engaging local people and a participatory planning that DMFT is talking about. Now, पहले annual plan में ज़रूरत था, अभी it is talking about a 5-year perspective plan where, Gram Sabhas, local communities need to be consulted and a need assessment must be done. And so, but there are challenges. जैसे कि हमने पहला सेशन में सुना है कि it is not being done in 3 years. अभी 3 साल हो गए, अभी भी किसी district में बना नहीं है. Now, given PRADAN's vast experience in, being engaging in the GPTP planning process, Gram Panchayat developmental planning, जो बहुत extensive तरह से हुआ था Jharkhand में and many other places. Can you tell us 2-3 main strategies to actually make this bottom-up planning happen? That is fundamentally key. How can it be structured? What can be a structured approach to do this? And how long such plans can be taken? Like एक district में बनाने के लिए वो कितना समय लग सकता है? 2 महीना, 3 महीना. So DMFs can start planning accordingly.
Thank you, Shrestha. I think this is a very good question, and I must congratulate iFOREST for doing this consultation on a very important day, like 10 years of DMF trust actually. And I guess I am audible, Shrestha? Yeah. So I think 2-3 points that I would like to mention is, like whenever there is a concrete plan of action by the community, I mean community stewardship is there, then the plan is going to be a very good plan and people actually monitor that plan and they implement that plan. So planning is one part, but I think implementation of the plan with quality, with excellence, and then the post-implementation follow-up and post-implementation, how the people are sustaining this plan, I think these are very important points. So one part is the community stewardship, and we generally call this as a decentralized community action or the bottom-up planning. So इसके लिए हमको लग रहा था कि like CSOs का involvement is very critical. Like जहाँ पर भी अच्छा civil society organizations हैं and they are involved in the planning process. जो यहाँ पर हम लोग का सुंदरगढ़ से जो example बोल रहे थे, सुषमा जी जो बता रहे थे कि they are going to the villages, they are assessing the need of the community. So I think mining affected areas में we should not call कि the people are the beneficiary. It's not like that. So they are the participant household. Can these households be a partner in the entire program? So the entire perspective will change. So they are not in the receiving end, but at the same time, they can be a partner in the entire program. Then the whole narrative will change. Like the locus of initiative, the locus of control, and the locus of influence would be with the community collectives. So like Government of India has launched this flagship program called National Rural Livelihood Mission, where the women SHGs and the village organizations are in place actually in all over India, including the mining affected areas. So I think, can we leverage the strength of women collectives, the self-help groups and the village organizations, and they can work with the, like the Gram Sabha members, they can be a part of Gram Sabha members. And many a times we have seen like whenever the SHG members are participating in the Gram Sabha, so their ownership is very high. So it's not about participation actually, it's basically taking the ownership of their lives and livelihoods and how they can secure their livelihoods. So ये जो हम बोल रहे हैं, इसके लिए हमको लगता है कि जो individual household level में taking the area into considerations, need to do a very detailed need assessment. लोगों का need क्या है? What are the resources they are having? What is their aspirations? And what are the opportunities available in the local area? Suppose in some of the areas like forest is one of the major sources of livelihood. Can we intervene in the entire value chain of this forest produce? Or can we intervene in the natural resource management? So I think the 3E framework is very important, where we should consider the rural economy, the ecology into considerations, and the equity into consideration. So if the planning process is considering the 3E framework, then I think this is going to be a success. Second part is the people should be in the center. The community should be in the center. Then only all these investments can be targeted investments. The inclusive development can take place. And we should not copy paste the entire model. Like if something is happening in Chhattisgarh, that should not be copy pasted in Odisha. It should be a very much context specific prototypes, and depending on the need of the community, so that it can be a successful one and that caters to the need of the community. And fourth is, for doing all this, I think the government and the civil society organizations, the community-based organizations should be into a one platform, and the panchayat should be taken into consideration. So I think if the one panchayat, one plan can be taken up, and then GPTP processes, the fundamental principles can be taken up under this planning process. So there are 4 aspects of planning. One is the pre-planning exercise, then planning, then implementation, then post-implementation. So I think we need to divide the entire phase. Suppose this 3 to 4 years plan into this entire processes, then this is going to be a success. And we have seen this in many places, including Keonjhar and some of the districts in Chhattisgarh also. And the fourth point is that, like, I would like to highlight is Chandrabhusan ji काफी सारा analysis बताए हैं, but I think ये जो 3 state है, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Odisha, so it's comprised of near about 13% of the entire coverage, that is 3 out of 23 states. And if you see the number of projects, it's around 42%.
56.
Yeah, no, in terms of the amount of funding, it's around 60% of the entire funding.
56-60%.
Yeah. And if you see the number of projects, like the ongoing projects for the completed projects, so the unit cost of the project varies from state to state. So I was just calculating, like in Chhattisgarh, so there were around more than 99,000 projects, including the completed one. And similarly in Jharkhand, it's around 22,000, and Odisha, it's around 32,000. So the unit cost varies from 15.7 lakhs to 47 lakhs to 84 lakhs. So there are wide variations actually. So I think if the plan can be made keeping the people's priority into considerations, then that plan actually would be sustainable, and that would secure the livelihoods of the people. And for example, like Chandrabhusan ji was talking about the soft skill actually. So we need to see what percentage of these investments, I mean the DMF fund, we are investing around the developing the people's capability and the training and capacity building need of the community. Because if you only provide infrastructure, so that is going to be solve one part of the problem, but the entire problem won't be solved. So we need to see what is the percentage. Suppose for the entire, you said like 1 lakh crores is the entire portfolio. If we spend near about 1 crore, suppose 100 crore rupees, which is around 1% of the entire 0.1% of the entire budget. So I think that entire narrative would change actually. I mean, 100 crore is not a small amount, but if you see the entire percentage, it's only 0.1%. So 0.1%, if you invest around the CSOs and the CVOs capacity buildings and involvement of the good actors in the entire planning process, then I think the quality of plan would be of a very different nature. And actually the community-led planning process can be ensured actually. With this, I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Saroj ji. क्योंकि हम लोगों ने जो one of our recommendations has been कि जो districts, बड़े districts है, they can keep aside about 5% of the DMF annual receipt for capacity building of Gram Sabhas. But what you are also saying कि in addition to that, maybe some percentage of funds, like about 1%, can be also used for building capacity of civil society grassroots organizations, so they can help in the planning process. Very important recommendation. Swapna ji, मैं आपके पास आऊंगी. One of the things जो सरोज महापात्र जी बता रहे थे is that, you know, how livelihoods has been important, and particularly engaging how we can leverage SHG groups and to strengthen, DMF investments to improve livelihoods. And Orissa has been one of the leading states actually in the country, जो हमें government data से पता चलता है, in SHG, strengthening strong SHG groups. And you are working, in Angul. Can you share some examples of how DMFT funds are being used in Orissa and in districts like Angul and any other that FES is working in, to strengthen the livelihood component, particularly involving women, if there are any?
Yeah, thank you, Sest and iFOREST for reinitiating this dialogue around DMFT. बहुत साल हो गया, शायद लोग भूल भी गए होंगे कि DMFT कुछ है, अब वापस चला जाए, back of the mind. Essentially because, I think creating history is difficult. Following history is always easy, but rewriting history is next to impossible. And that's been the story of DMF. When the DMF started, the way it was envisaged, the way it was supposed to be implemented, I think went way beyond the way it should have been implemented. And we created a structure, we created a committee, we gave it in the hands of few people to decide. And now we want to go back and, erase that history, come up with community-based planning. I think Susma Madam is going to have a terrible, terrible time in, going back to community and asking them to give your suggestions. So people have seen what happens with DMF. You were asking for my opinion. So Angul is, I think, one of the classic case. Supposedly, you look at 2022. I was looking at the 2022 resolution of the government, where they say about 50% of the activities or fund that they have invested from DMFT is gone on drinking water. You don't really have that much of water. All you are doing is pumping it out, and you are trying to create infrastructure, whereas you are not even looking at the supply side of it. अब अगर ये लोगों के पास जाता है, they would have very clearly, very thoughtfully have thought, particularly with women groups. जब हम यहाँ पे लोगों के साथ watershed projects में काम करते हैं, महिलाएं पहला सवाल करते हैं, पानी कितना है जो हम कितना निकाल सकते हैं. This was a very basic question which we left. We invested everything on pumping out water and trying to supply water, whereas 80% of the structures are defunct because you don't really invested on looking at how do you increase the input side of it. That's the kind of planning that we do. And unless we really involve the local people, and particularly the one who are the users, and in this case, most of the impact of any mining activities is gone on women. People migrating, leaving families at home to look after the entire agriculture work, family responsibility, children's education, health, everything has been gone on the women. So unless you really, really involve these women groups, unfortunately, the state has invested considerably in building this social capital of women groups coming together in whatever form. Maybe they are not doing excellent work of economic enterprise and all, but they are at least forming as a group. That social capital has not been considered when it comes to DMFT. But so when it, I think PRADAN initiated the Agriculture Production Cluster Program, or Wasson initiated the Millet Mission Program, in that we deliberately pushed with the government, at least in the district where we are, saying that we would like to do this with the women group. So entire Millet Mission Program, in which one block that where FES is partnering, entire program has gone in with the women. Because we realize what I think the previous speaker was just saying, it is not just about creating structures, it is also about ensuring that it remains. So we realize in agriculture, 90% job is done by women. So unless we involve them in this program from the beginning, millet will die down the day government will withdraw the support or DMFT will withdraw the support. So that is why this entire shift from not just working with men farmers to give a more focused attention to women, building their capacity, taking them through the entire process of understanding how millet has to be done, how millet has to be processed, how millet has to be marketed. And thanks to the Agriculture Department, they really supported this initiative. And now in Odisha, if you see, most of the Millet Mission Program, women has been in the forefront. And tomorrow, even if there is a withdrawal of DMFT funds from, say, Sundargarh, Keonjhar, and Angul, where it is currently being supported from the DMFT, people will still continue because the real actors has learned the lesson and they know how this is a profitable thing. In the face of a changing climate, millet has become an answer. So unless you really involve people in this entire process of designing the priority areas is very, very well defined. And unfortunately, unfortunately, if you assess the entire high priority area, while we have chosen the easy ways out of investing more on water supplies, healthcare, education, skill development, sanitation, road, we haven't really thought about nature. We haven't really given that much of a focus to environment. And that's our bank. That's the money. That's a bank from which we are all going to withdraw. Unless we really involve people in designing how do they maintain the microclimate, say forest, water, pasture lands, all of that, investing DMF and create a resource around which people could eventually survive. Because if I remember correctly, even the Just Transition report that has been published by iFOREST, if tomorrow the mines get shut down, what we actually invested in 2070, by that time we'll all shift from fossil fuel to something else. That something else is again around this natural resource. So why not improve the natural resource conditions in the districts where DMFT is available? Because part of it is getting destroyed for the mining activities. Why not rebuild the other part of the district using the DMFT, especially the forest, the pasture lands, the streams, the ponds, where we could really create an alternative. And these are the alternatives which is definitely going to provide a lot of opportunity to the women. Because for them, traditionally, this has been the source of income. Income from the forest, income from the fishing activity, income from the agriculture, income from the livestock. This has been their income. So if you could really invest in this activity, involving the community, like Saroj was saying, involving the panchayat, involving the local people, I'm sure this is going to create a bigger impact on the lives of people. DMFT will really, really, really fulfill its purpose. Otherwise, we continue to flow in the same direction and we will not really reach to a conclusion where it is going to be very impactful on people.
Thank you, Swapna ji. I'll come back to a feasibility question. There are many questions I think I must take from participants rather. But I'll first, Shibanand, आपके लिए जो सवाल है, and it's a more practical question, क्योंकि Ekjut has been among the very few organizations जो DMFT से actually could get funds in Keonjhar district to intervene in women and child development. And my question to you is not more on the model that you work with, but how did you actually manage to get this fund? वो procedure क्या था, उसका hurdle क्या है? Because you also tried in some other district जब नहीं हुआ था. So how did Ekjut engage with the DMFT to get funds to implement projects? And Saroj was also telling that you need civil society to bring together civil society, give them some money to, do many of the works together. So if you can tell us how you went about securing that funds and, how did you did some work, and then what Swapna ji just said, that you also need a scale up. The community needs ownership, so that will become a model project, and then then it doesn't go DMF band ho gaya, to project bhi band ho gaya, sort of. So if you can tell us a little bit, Shibanand, I'll request 5 minutes of your intervention so I can take a little 1 to more important questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrestha, for this question, and thank you for inviting us for this all important discussion. I'll just start briefly about the importance of the intervention that we're discussing about, which is creches or daycare centers for children in the 6 months to 3 years age group. I can tell you that this age group is quite crucial as far as addressing undernutrition is concerned, as far as development of the person concerned for the lifelong process is concerned, because the brain develops its fastest. 80% of brain development happens in this age group, and it's this age group that malnutrition starts to starts, and there is irreversible damage done to children. So one of the key interventions to address this is one, nutrition, two, stimulation. And creches as an institution or daycare centers are institution which cater to both these two needs of the children. So creches are basically daycare centers which run for 7 to 8 hours in the communities, in the villages, managed by two creche workers who are selected from the same village. And the services that creches provide are basically nutrition, one hot cooked meal, two snacks, which caters to almost 70% of their daily calorie requirement and 90% of their protein requirement, including which, because meals also include eggs 4 to 5 days a week. A lot of early childhood development activities happen which are age appropriate, and a lot of songs happening being done in the local dialect so that children can easily relate to it. A lot of early child development activities, play therapy, toys, handmade toys. Children stay in a safe and secured environment throughout the day. Uh, they're less exposed to smoke, because we all know that household smoke is a deterrent as far as growth of children is concerned. And there is a growth monitoring happening every in a very routine on regular manner to track if the children are growing properly or not, and if children are not growing properly, then corrective measures are taken. And community participation and community participation is a key to all these processes, in an involvement of community to give consent to these processes, to for helping in hiring creche workers, helping getting proper and safe space for children. So this
Shibanand,
approach,
how did you go about
I'm
getting the
just-
funds? Because
I'm
that
coming to
has
that.
been a big challenge many of the
Yes.
times.
In fact, we have been running creches in Ekjut since 2012-13, and we knew the impact and effect of these institutions for the young children. And since this is a intensive initiative, when DMF started, there's a lot of discussion about how to spend DMF money properly, effectively. Many organizations started working on it, and when we were invited to share our thoughts, one of the interventions that we proposed was creches, looking at the investment and the return on investment of it. So we went to many district authorities, including district administrator of Keonjhar, and Keonjhar district administration found some positives probably in it, and they floated a request for proposal in 2017-18, where they started 30 creches in the district, and Ekjut managed 30 creches, looking at the impact of creches. And when I say impact, creches managed to reduce children with severe acute malnutrition considerably. And when I say considerably, almost 85% of children with severe acute malnutrition, they come out of that stage within a span of 6 months to 1 year. And apart from that, there are other cognitive and language development that children and social skills that is seen among children. So this initiative got a lot of traction among district administration and state administration. And right now, Keonjhar district manages 730 creches, and probably that's the highest number of creches managed by anywhere in the country. And I see Swapna madam in this panel. She was also quite supportive of this initiative when she was in Keonjhar. And along with District Millennium Foundation, we have also got support from other philanthropies. But DMF has been quite supportive, Khaskar Keonjhar, and learning from the experience of Keonjhar, other districts in Orissa such as Sundargarh, Jajpur, Mayurbhanj, they have come up with supporting creches along with other projects through the support of DMF. We have also approached many district administrations in Jharkhand, though there was a request for proposal in the district that where I work in West Simbhum, but somehow it could not get scaled up. But again, yes, when you talked about how we managed to get DMF involved in it, when civil society organizations, we do some intervention, it is imperative that we evaluate, get an impact assessment of it, get the processes of it done, and which is probably what policymakers look for. क्या intervention है, इसका क्या impact and what is the cost. So once we go with those
Right.
those aspects, it's probably easier to scale up things. Yeah.
Scale up. No, thank you. Very important, because is still Ekjut receiving any funding from DMFTs?
It is. As I mentioned, Ekjut district manages 730 crushes, out of which Ekjut manages 233 in 2 blocks.
Oh,
two
about
mining affected blocks.
Very high. Very high. So thank you, Shibanand ji. Important thing. Given the essence of time, I'll ask one important question, and one for Ramesh bhai and one for Saroj ji maybe. The question that Ramesh bhai you wanted to speak on, and this is something important, is grievance. Kyuki what Swapna ji told that projects are being there. If you ask the women कि मुझे ये पानी का प्रोजेक्ट लेना चाहिए या नहीं, तो पहला सवाल वो पूछेंगे कि है पानी है या नहीं है. So, but the question is that if today we are talking of this amount of scaling up, and now the government of India has mandated a grievance redressal. पहले था नहीं, शुरू में 2015 का गाइडलाइन में था नहीं, लेकिन 2024 का PM-KKY गाइडलाइन has now mandated setting up grievance, and our assessment is showing जो 21 माइनिंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट का हमने डीप डाइव किया है, 9 have set up grievance redressal at something online, but we did not see much information abhi bhi. Given your experience with grassroots, like what is, first of all, the question is, number one, is an online grievance redressal helpful? I think it's important because then everyone gets to know. But what is a best way to set up a grievance redressal system that also is accountable? If you can share your observation.
Yeah, thanks, Ekta, for this important question. So first of all, I mean, the online grievances redressal system could be the first step, but it's not at all sufficient, especially for those people who have some problems of education, their own literacy level. They are not really legally knowledgeable to apply online, etc., etc. And there is a huge amount of issue which is related with the connectivity. So my concern is that online system has its own technical limitations as well as the educational limitations. But I would like to highlight, as you said, that in 2014 there was some provision for the grievances redressal mechanism, though there abhi bhi wo ground pe nahi hai, na? But let me highlight some challenges. The illegal mining still remain one major issue, because we know that the whole of the mining area, there is a gross violation in terms of the mining area, sometimes violations in terms of their capacity, sometimes there are technical violations, sometimes violations which is related with the transportation and pollution, etc., etc. So, जो अफेक्टेड कम्युनिटी है वो ग्रीवेंसेस रिड्रेसल के लिए कहाँ जाए, इस वक्त उसका कोई स्पेसिफाइड स्पेस नहीं है. मैं कोरबा का एग्जांपल दे सकता हूँ, मैं एग्जांपल दे सकता हूँ कोरिया डिस्ट्रिक्ट का जो बाजू में है, या इवन सरगुजा डिस्ट्रिक्ट का एग्जांपल दे सकता हूँ, जहाँ पे इस तरह के इलीगल माइनिंग एक्टिविटीज है, लेकिन कोई भी एक एप्रोप्रिएट जो रिड्रेसल सिस्टम है वो लोगों को बताया नहीं गया है, इसलिए अभी भी हम लोग उसके वॉल्यूशंस को देख रहे हैं. दूसरा जो वॉल्यूशन जो है वो पूरा जो नॉन कंप्लायंसेस फॉर द रॉयल्टी है ना, सीएजी की रिपोर्ट है, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग रिपोर्ट है डीएमएफ में, जो मध्य प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट के लिए उन्होंने मध्य प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट के माइनिंग सेक्टर और डीएमएफ के यूटिलाइजेशन के ऊपर बनाई थी. और वो साफ कहता है कि खास करके जो माइनिंग जो खत्म हो गए हैं, या बहुत सारे ऐसे माइनिंग कंपनीज जो हैं जिन लोगों ने अपने रॉयल्टी का ड्यू टाइम पे जो है वो सबमिशन या पेमेंट जो है वो नहीं किया है, और वो करीब करीब, यदि मैं ठीक कर पा रहा हूँ तो करीब 35% के आसपास है, विच इज रियली बिग चंक ऑफ मनी. सो सीएजी की रिपोर्ट अपने आप में खुद ही ये एस्टैब्लिश कर रही है कि जो माइनिंग कंपनीज के द्वारा खास करके जो डीएमएफ में जो पैसा जाना जो चाहिए था, उसका एक बड़ा वॉल्यूशन वहां पे ग्राउंड वॉल्यूशन दिखाई दे रहा है. थर्ड जो है वो पूरे डाइवर्शन ऑफ डीएमएफ फंड फॉर द नॉन अफेक्टेड एरिया एंड फॉर द नॉन अफेक्टेड कम्युनिटीज, है ना. आई वुड से दैट द प्रिविलेज बेनिफिशियरीज, तो इसमें एक नया कैटेगरी खड़ा हो गया है जो प्रिविलेज बेनिफिशियरीज का है. और हम सब जानते हैं कि ऑलमोस्ट हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, ऑलमोस्ट हर स्टेट में इसका एक एग्जाम्पल जो है वो हमको दिखाई दे सकता है, जहाँ पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट है, जहाँ एयरपोर्ट प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, जहाँ मेला है किसी तरह के, और इस तरह के जो कहना चाहिए जो जो अफेक्टेड कम्युनिटी या अफेक्टेड एरिया के लिए जो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट हो सकता है उसके बियॉन्ड है. और ये कंटिन्यू कंसर्न रहा है हम सबका. अब्यूज ऑफ डीएमएफ फंड फॉर द नॉन कम्युनिटी पर्पस, ये भी हम सब जानते हैं कि काफी जगह जो है वो इसके एग्जाम्पल है. क्या हो सकता है उसके बारे में मैं दो केवल सजेशन मैं यहाँ देना चाहूंगा. मुझे लगता है कि फिर से मैं फिफ्थ शेड्यूल वाले पॉसिबिलिटीज पे लौट रहा हूँ कि फिफ्थ शेड्यूल के पॉसिबिलिटीज और खास करके फिफ्थ शेड्यूल के पॉसिबिलिटीज के साथ जो स्टेट का शेड्यूल ट्राइब कमीशन है, इस वक्त शेड्यूल ट्राइब कमीशन का कहीं पे भी कोई डायरेक्ट रोल या डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट यहाँ दिखाई नहीं देता। मैं समझता हूँ कि वो एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी है, वो एक लीगल बॉडी है, इसलिए जब ग्रीवेंसेस रीएड्रेसल की जब बात होती है तो स्टेट शेड्यूल ट्राइब कमीशन या नेशनल शेड्यूल ट्राइब कमीशन को बहुत स्पेसिफिक रोल दिया जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि वो उस पोजीशन पे है कि इन चीजों को देख सकें, और मुझे लगता है कि वो काफी सारे दिक्कतों को जो है वो दूर कर सकते हैं। दूसरा जो है, खास करके फिफ्थ शेड्यूल को ही लेके जो इंपॉर्टेंट पोजीशन हो सकता है, वो है ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल का। हम जहां पे भी फिफ्थ शेड्यूल की बात करते हैं वहां ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल है। यदि आप ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल का डीएमएफ के लीगल या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल या पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क से लिंक देखेंगे तो आपको कुछ भी दिखाई नहीं देगा। तो यहाँ पे दूसरा एक इंटरेस्टिंग वो हो सकता है, क्योंकि जैसे कि तुलेश्वर जी ने भी बताया कि इस वक्त जो विधायक चुने हैं, इस वक्त जो इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हैं, उनका डीएमएफ को लेके अपना ओरिएंटेशन काफी वीक है, और वो हम सब जानते हैं कि 3 साल 4 साल या 5 साल में उसमें चेंजेस जो है वो आते रहते हैं। लेकिन जो ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल है वो एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी है, और यदि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी के पास इस तरह के यदि ग्रीवेंसेस रीएड्रेसल मैकेनिज्म यदि हम लोग देते हैं या उसके ऊपर यदि रिलाई करते हैं, शायद उसके एक बेटर रिजल्ट आ पाएंगे, क्योंकि वहां तक लोगों की समझ को बढ़ाना शायद कंपैरेटिवली इजी होगा, ऐसा मेरा मानना है।
ठीक नहीं, thank you Ramesh bhai. I will now actually last question might to Saroj ji, maybe you can respond quickly and then I'll just close this session taking one comments. There has been a lot of question ki social audit, अभी हम बोल रहे हैं कि social audit mandate करना है, and maybe all of you can give 1-2 lines of observation, because आप लोग, you all are working in local areas, starting with Saroj ji. What should be the ideal framework of doing this social audit? Should we follow the Manrega model? Manrega already has a social audit mechanism which has been set up, or DMFT ke liye there should be something in addition to it. Saroj ji, first intervention from you, maybe for a minute or so, and then I'll move on to Swapna ji and Shibanand if they want to intervene.
So I think this is a very important question, Shrestha. So इसमें just I would like to respond in 2-3 points. So one part is जो fundamentally अगर देखेंगे, like community अगर responsible है, then only they are accountable. I mean, responsibility and accountability are directly proportional. If the responsibility lies with somebody else, and you seek like community would be accountable for doing the quality works, it won't going to happen. So let the community decide what is the work, what is their need, and then what types of work they would like to do, and then इसका quality को कैसे ensure होगा, and how they would like to implement all these projects. So ये individually करना it would be very difficult, but I think what is the community institution architecture for implementing DMF type of projects that we need to recommend actually. Like we have seen many examples of livelihood projects. तो इसको एक बात करना पड़ेगा. आज का दिन में गाइडलाइंस में there is no mention of this. What would be the community institutional model? So we can take the example of NRLM, or we can take the example of how the individual benefiting schemes under this MJNRGs are being implemented, how the panchayats are, I mean, PRI representatives are taking the ownership. So this is number one. Second is, I think we have to develop a framework around this measurement, evaluation, learning, and accountability. So right now this framework is missing. हम लोग बहुत टाइम में evaluation तक सीमित है, but I think if the learning is the focus, ये community में जब हम लोग बात करते हैं, like our experience has been like community कोई project अगर implement करते हैं, suppose they are implementing a solar irrigation projects, और इसमें अगर देखते हैं कि learning is the focus, then इसमें देखते हैं कि they are not trying to prove कि हमने ठीक किया, but they are trying to improve the situations. आज एक किया, उसका दूसरा हमलेट में अगर दूसरा लिफ्टिगेशंस लगता है, so they are trying to improve the overall implementation architecture actually. So I think if learning, measurement, हम monitoring नहीं बोल रहे हैं, measurement बोल रहे हैं, measurement, evaluation and accountability framework, इसको हमको develop करना पड़ेगा for a state like उड़ीसा, झारखंड और छत्तीसगढ़ एटलीस्ट, जहाँ पर DMF का फंडिंग काफी ज्यादा है. एंड सेकंड इज सोशल ऑडिट का जो ओवरऑल प्रिंसिपल्स हैं MJNRGs में जो हम लोग करते हैं, So इसको हमको लगता है कि the principles can be taken and for auditing this, for doing this social audit of DMF projects. कम्युनिटी में काफी एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी मैकेनिज्म भी क्रिएट किया जाए जिसमें हर एक 6 महीना में एक पीरियडिक उसका रेगुलर रिव्यू हो, मॉनिटरिंग हो और किस क्वालिटी में काम हो रहा है, लेट द कम्युनिटी डिसाइड, कुछ एक वर्किंग ग्रुप बना के किया जा सकता है. So and the governance and management as suggested by Chandrabhushan ji, this is to be separate actually. आज का दिन में जैसा ओवरऑल डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल में, स्टेट लेवल में दिस आर्किटेक्चर आर सेम. सो इसको थोड़ा सा हमको लगता है कि देखने का जरूरत है, बिकॉज when the management is accountable to or answerable to governance, then the quality of works is much better.
So, Swapna ji, I'll come with this question to you and a minute or two of your intervention, because Odisha में actually the district level authority जो है DMFT body, there is a very close correlation with the planning and convergence department of the state government. Planning and government, Saroj is also nodding his head because Odisha में वो बहुत. Has it helped in improved DMF implementation from your experience? Because today Arava Rajkamal ji also mentioned कि state में अगर कुछ इस तरह का रहा तो it may help. So has it really helped this coordination between the planning and convergence department and the district like DMFT for better implementation? Any thoughts from your side?
So I think ideally that should have been the way, maybe because you have a planning and convergence department which is anyway looking after how the district planning will be done, and DMFT should be seen as a resource envelope which could have gone to all the departments when they're planning, maybe also panchayats when they were planning. All of that could have helped. But unfortunately, I think that is the one of the least priority department of the state government. You don't really have human resource to do this kind of planning exercise, which was envisaged. That you have a panchayat level GPDP planning comes to a block level planning happens, and then they see where the resources to be allocated, what are the priority areas. Then at the district level, you also look at what the priority areas and in which you need to invest this kind of resources for which there is no significant programs already existing in the state. Still now, I think that has been the biggest problem of this country, that everyone plans for their own self. The siloed planning is, I think is one of the biggest problem. Agriculture department plans without talking to the water resource department. Water resource department plans without talking to the panchayat resource department. So in this case, how do you? And unfortunately, that's not how the nature operates. That's not how life operates. Agriculture is linked to water. Water is linked to food processing. Food processing is linked to market. Market is linked to transport. All of this is so linked. But when we do plan, we plan on our own. So the ideal situation would have been that this district planning unit should have been the way it was created, that you have a block planning unit and you have a district planning unit where all these department people were supposed to come. There were representation from civil society organization was there. The representation from people's side was there. But those units are not really functioning well. What is happening is, as per the programs, so now you have a millet mission program which is supported, you have a block and district kind of unit. You have a APC which is there, you have a block and district kind of a unit. For every program now you're creating, which is again a mess. How many programs? You have 20 or 30 programs, it will run into a mess. You can't have 30 kind of meetings happening almost every day. So there is a to revamp that entire planning process, planning infrastructure that was envisaged, that you have to have a block level. You already have a GPDP which is happening. At least that is something where the changes happen. Couple of years, there is a lot of impetus has been given on looking at how panchayat at least plan. So if you could really build on that and re-establish this block planning, district planning units, and involve as many as actors possible who could support in this process, I'm sure we are going to create a significant improvement, not just on investing these resources, but creating a better living condition for the people. If that's the objective.
Shibanand, my last question आपके लिए एक सवाल था, and very precisely, there is a question कि बस्तर में जब there was investment in healthcare, लेकिन DM बदल गए तो investment भी बंद हो गया. So, so what has been your experience? Like you told that, you have got the first set of funds around 2018-19, and now it is 2024, you are continuing. So DN badalne se your funding didn't stop.
Luckily, it did not stop. And probably because this initiative has got results. And I get these questions quite often, Sreshta, ki kitna din tak support chalna chahiye crash ko. I have a counter question. For how many days should government support a school or an Anganwadi center? So these are fundamental institutions, and the government and the agencies should understand that investment needs to be done for the future of children. This is not a return on investment, but this is investment so that we have a better future, better country. So if children at this age group are taken care of properly, both the nutrition and stimulation and cognitive development are taken care of, we have a better future. So we have no other options than to allocate funds and invest in this. So there's no ifs and buts in it, but I'm sure these sort of interventions, it's a prime responsibility of the state to support this, and it's as I think Saroj mentioned, it's not a beneficial thing. It's a right of people. As education is a right, having crashes or daycare centers is a right of people, and this is a right of not only for children but also for women or parents to do the work or do household chores. So this investment has been continuing, and luckily, and sure, with good thoughts all around, this should continue for a longer period of time.
Thank you, Shibanand ji. It is already nearly 5:30. मैं कुछ सवाल पे iFOREST के तरह जो आए हैं, कुछ सवाल थे और पता नहीं वो लोग अभी भी जुड़े हुए हैं, लेकिन मैं बताने की कोशिश करूंगी. There was a question on integrated planning, अगर हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे, एंड हम ये बताना चाहेंगे कि हमने जहाँ जो 21 डिस्ट्रिक्ट का हमने अध्ययन किया है, what we have learned is कि of course integrated planning हुआ नहीं, and वही एक सबसे बड़ा हमारा observation रहा कि planning is very much a listing of projects, so there is no convergence so far, and इसलिए the new प्रधानमंत्री खंड क्षेत्र कल्याण योजना का जो 2024 के गाइडलाइन है, it is asking for a perspective planning taking into account the entire ecosystem. So no, that is yet to happen. Abhi bhi hua nahi. One more question that was there is, of course, on social audit. I think Saroj has responded to it. It has come from Rajasthan particularly. Ki Rajasthan has tried to improve the auditing system. They are trying to do a public hearing. Rajasthan के एक बहुत अच्छी scheme थे to address silicosis among the mine workers, and today there are अभी आज हमारे साथ बहुत actually राजस्थान से mine worker जुड़े हुए थे. So they have tried to do a system ki, what has been the impact of this intervention. So I think what is coming out, and most of the question were about impact, ki ho kya raha hai. My final question to all of you, and I would really request only 30 seconds, is people really aware of DMFT in the districts you are working? Ha ya na? And if it's not, then maybe we all need to work together now in the coming years also to build their knowledge. So yes, what is your observation? Saroj, I'll start with you. Are people aware? I'll move to Swapna ji, Shibanand and Ramesh bhai. Thank you.
So, PRADAN ka jahan par presence hai, to a large extent, yes. But in general, understanding is poor actually. I don't say poor, but it's average actually. But in some cases, there has been excellent work actually, like community is demanding for water, and then collector is sanctioning under this DMF fund, and then this solar irrigation projects were implemented in Odisha. You asked about this convergence, no? So agriculture production clusters in most of the districts, including Anugul and Keonjhar. So these are from the DMF.
We did some work, yes.
So I think
we also saw that, yes.
Excellent work has been done. Similarly, in Jharkhand also, many initiatives have been taken up. Chhattisgarh also. So I think
people know.
Yeah, people know actually.
People know. Swapna ji, aapka kya, what is your observation? Do people know about the huge amount? We are talking of crores of funds. Do they know that this money is there?
Not agree to Saroj bhai on this point. Only people know who has been benefited of it. But in general, people do not know. All they know is there's a big money that is lying. Nobody knows what is this big money. Nobody knows what this big money is for. Nobody knows how this big money is going to be utilized. Nobody knows any iota. There's no iota about it. All everybody knows is 1000 crore पड़े हैं district में. पर 1000 है, 5000 है, 10,000 है, 2000 है. Nobody knows.
No clarity.
1000 crore पड़े. And people in general, at least the people in the mine affected area, localities, I really don't think they know that this is a fund for them.
Shibanand, I think you know, but do people know?
Even before today's webinar, not all of us knew about the exact numbers. So, so people know about it, but still a lot of work needs to be done for transparency. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Ramesh bhai, your last comments. Ramesh bhai is there, or I think he was having some connection issues. Okay, I'll close to this. He was having some connection issues. He messaged me. So thank you all for joining today. Of course, the participation is now going on 5:30 baj gaye. Please report. My colleague Shriya has already posted the link to the report in the chat box. It is always in iFOREST website. We share all of the reports in public domain. आप उसको जाके देखिए. It is, the money is evolving, but the main thing is that I think we had a very good discussion, and Swapna ji told that लोग शायद भूल ही गए थे, and we are very happy that you all joined us today to mark this very, very important occasion of the 10 years of this very important institution that has been brought in with a lot of hope. And I think reforms will be instituted in the coming days to strengthen it and actually live up to the way it has been envisioned 10 years back. Thank you very much. On behalf of iFOREST, I would like to thank you all once again for joining us and supporting our work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Saroj. Thank you.